Hey, from New Jersey, it's the SNL Nerds, a show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
And I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
Hey, John, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Darren?
I'm doing well. You know why I'm doing well?
Why are you doing well?
Because we got a guest.
What?
I know.
Oh, my God.
Clutch my pearls, Lord Almighty.
There's somebody in another seat.
We have company.
Oh,
We have company. Get the good china.
we got to put on our party manners.
Yeah, put on our Sunday best.
Huh. I'm
I
going
know.
to pull up my pants now.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, that's... Oh, boy.
Not a lot of people know this. We usually do this podcast in the nude.
And
Wow, you texted me this morning. You were like, yeah, be sure to wear pants today. And I was like, why?
Really showing a peek behind the curtain there, fella.
I know.
Guys, today we have with us an amazing comic, amazing storyteller, writer, actress, podcaster. I mean, she does it all. Ladies and gentlemen, Selena Coppock.
Woo!
Hello. Hey,
Hey.
guys. How are you doing?
We're doing good.
We got pants and everything.
I know. Thank
Yeah.
you for putting pants on. I did too, just to
Yep.
be customary, you
Wow.
know.
Sure.
When in Rome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I was like, I suppose. I mean, I did take the train out here pantsless.
Yeah. Sure.
But,
Oh.
you know, I put my pants on just before I
Oh,
walked
wow.
in.
That's,
so.
Yeah.
how fancy of you. How,
I know.
how European.
Just trying to obey the rules.
Well, thank you so much for coming here and joining us. So, you had to trek out from the city.
I know.
to come
Yeah,
join
but
us
it's so great.
here in Jersey.
I know. Oh my gosh, Darren and I were just talking about it. It's like, I was like, I took the train to Newark, and I'm like, God, how long is that gonna be? Roughly 20 minutes. You know, I mean, it's
Nice.
nothing. Oh my gosh.
I have a
Yeah.
joke about this where people like in New York have no idea how close they are to Jersey. You tell somebody in New York, oh, yeah, come visit me. I'm in Jersey. They're like,
Yeah, because
Ooh,
it sounds like a trek.
it sounds like a
know.
faraway land.
I
That-
know. And I got to say, Newark Penn Station is a beautiful building.
It really is pretty.
It's classic. I just Insta'd a picture from the exterior. Because it's like just a nice old building that's been pretty well preserved, it looks like, you know?
Yeah. It's easy on the eyes.
Yeah.
That's right. We're coming back strong.
I know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But the reason we have you here this week is we are going to talk about a movie starring a couple of SNL alum.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the movie Bridesmaids.
That's
Yes,
right.
so good.
Yeah. Bridesmaids came out May 13th, 2011. Written by Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo, directed by Paul Feig. Made a bit of money. Had a budget of $32 million. Grossed $169 million domestic and like $288 million worldwide. This thing was a big old bag.
That
of
is
hits.
nuts. Okay, I didn't realize until I started researching for this episode. It is the highest grossing Judd Apatow film.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Did
I
he
knew
produce it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
It was Apatow and Feig together again after Freaks and Geeks and all the other stuff they've done together. And I'm also amazed that it's like 8 years ago already.
I know,
it
me
is.
too.
This is nuts.
When you just said 2011, I was like, no way.
No?
It feels
Oh
like
my gosh.
5 years ago max.
Max.
It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 2011 is the movie that put with Melissa McCarthy on the map.
Yeah.
The movie where we found out John Hamm could do comedy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, he can do comedy. Yeah.
Oh, he can do comedy.
He can do whatever he wants.
He's a handsome man.
Yes. he is.
But we're not just going to talk about Bridesmaids today. We are going to talk about, you've got some SNL connections yourself. You've been to a
Yes.
couple tapings.
Yes.
Right. Actually, yeah, but so would you consider yourself an SNL nerd? Are you a casual fan? Like,
No, I would consider myself an SNL nerd. Like
Nice.
growing up, I would build like my Saturday nights were built for SNL.
Okay.
Like, do you remember there used to be a TV show called Sisters?
Yes.
It was like
yeah.
a drama about four sisters.
Yeah,
in,
Celia Ward was in it,
Yes.
and Bruce
Swoozie
Springsteen's
Kurtz.
wife,
Yes,
whose
yeah,
name
Bruce
I'm
Springsteen's
forgetting.
first wife. Yes.
oh wow, that's better than me. I didn't know.
Yeah, it was.
It was like
great-
four women.
Yeah,
I
it was
remember
four women
that.
who lived in right outside of Chicago, and it was like it was. I mean, I was like 8 to 10 years old, and I was obsessed with it. And it was like about the like trials and tribulations of being a middle-aged woman. Like it was so strange that I was obsessed with it.
Oh,
but it was
wow.
on Saturday nights from 10 to 11.
Okay.
Then from 11 to 11:30, I'd like watch the news and eat like a giant bowl of ice cream, and then 11:30 SNL. And so I watched it all like when I was a kid. I mean, I was
Okay.
so into SNL.
Wow,
and
so
I would
you
like,
started young.
Yeah, well, because I'm the youngest of three girls.
Got hooked young.
I know. I remember. I feel like I started watching SNL when I was like 8 or so, 7 or 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like.
So
really,
so around what year would this have been?
It
Sometime in the
was-
90s?
that would have been. I mean, me being 7 or 8 would have been 87, 88. But
Okay.
but maybe it was more like when I was like 10 or 11. But I know it was Phil Hartman wasn't brand new. It was like John Lovitz, Victoria Jackson,
Dana Carvey.
Yeah, Dana Carvey.
Jen Hooks.
Yeah.
Nora Dunn.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that. It's funny because people will be like, "Oh, what female comedians of SNL are you into?" And I'm like, the foundational ones were the Nora Dunn and that era.
Yeah,
you know?
those were great. They
Oh
were
my
they were
gosh.
killer.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, do you remember
good.
like the first sketch that really hooked you in, or was it a sketch that hooked you in, or was it like a performer that'd be like, oh, that person's really good?
You know, the first performer who really stuck with me was Ellen Cleghorn.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's
she's
an Ellen
so
reference.
cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's a little bit later. You know, she's more the
Yeah.
Farley Sandler era.
Yeah.
But Ellen Cleghorn, and it's funny because like as a white woman, a black woman, like I loved her so much. Like
Okay.
especially because she would do a lot of the like bye-bye. Like she would just be like the characters she played often were just they had no time for you, and I just
Yes.
thought she was
Yeah.
just so funny because she seemed so kind of like angry, and I loved it. It was just I don't know. She was one who really Ellen Cleghorn. I always felt like was just so underrated and underused. you
Yeah,
know?
because I mean, I think on her time that she really wasn't. I mean, she did a good number of sketches and stuff, but I don't think she really like popped like a lot of
Yeah.
people.
No,
would
she
thought
didn't.
would have.
Yeah.
I think they had a little trouble figuring out how to use her
Yeah.
best. And even now, she's not one of those cast members that you hear a lot about or people.
No, I know. I connected with her on
remembering her
Twitter
fondly.
like maybe a year or two ago. She was on Twitter. She was on some sort of a celebrity chef show briefly. So I felt like she got a little bit of visibility a few years from that. And she was on Twitter, and I would tweet at her and just be like, "Hey, huge fan," you know. And she was very gracious and
Wow.
lovely.
Okay.
Yeah, but I loved Phil Hartman so much. My family was obsessed with Caveman Lawyer.
Yes.
I can see that.
Yeah, because my dad's a lawyer, and like we always just thought it was just so fun. You know, it was like I'm just a caveman, you know. And I mean, and Phil Hartman, what a talent!
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, my sister is formerly a member of the company of the Groundlings.
Oh, nice.
Which is where Phil Hartman came from,
Right,
and
right.
where a ton of SNL people came from in Los Angeles.
And can we say who your sister is? Because your
Yeah,
sister
yeah.
is rather notable herself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
So-
my sister's Laurel Coppock, and she plays the character that she plays is the face of Toyota on all their commercials called Jan. She's usually in a red shirt. She has brown hair. And she's a brilliant actress and comedian, and she's done a bunch of stuff, Crazy Stupid Love and The Office and Modern Family. But yeah, she was in the Groundlings and
far
Improv
out.
Olympic and all that jazz.
Okay, right on.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
And now selling those Toyotas, baby.
All that Toyota.
I know.
Making that RAV4 money.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there's another famous person in your family that I'm sorry, I have
Oh,
to,
boy.
I have
All right,
to
here we
mention
go.
this.
Yeah, go for it.
But your cousin is actually Batman.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Kevin Conroy. Oh,
Kevin
he's-
Conroy.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, and that is one of my favorite pieces of trivia to drop on people. You know,
Yeah.
like if people be like, "Yeah, I'm really into Batman," I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. My cousin's Batman." You know, it's like boom, like oh my god.
I got Batman on speed dial, so
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to many of his homes. Yeah, he's such a great guy and such a kind soul, and so like I mean, he went to Juilliard. Like, talk about well trained and
Yeah, wow.
and so unique. Like, I just feel like the Batman role is so perfect for him. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like. I mean, his voice is phenomenal. I just saw him. We had a little family reunion in Connecticut over the summer, so I saw him, and he's doing great. Yeah.
right on.
I saw him about 3 weeks ago at the New York Comic Con. So I
nice.
saw him a little sooner than
I
you
know.
did, I
More
guess.
recently, gosh. Tell him I said hi.
Not that it's a competition or anything. I mean,
I have not seen him.
yeah. But yeah, no, he's a very nice guy. I've gotten to interview him a couple
Yeah,
times.
that's great.
And
Yeah,
very
bro.
cool guy.
All right. So, I mean, as far as SNL goes, do you have like a certain era that's your favorite, or
I feel like it was probably, even though I do think that I started watching earlier than this, I do feel like the Adam Sandler, Chris Farley era, I kind of loved. You know,
Okay.
like I would watch it with my friend Leah McLeod, and she always wanted to be Adam Sandler's girlfriend, and I wanted to be Chris Farley's girlfriend.
Oh,
yeah,
double date.
I know. Yes.
Yeah, Farley was such a lovable. There was
my
like
gosh,
something about it,
so
like he's like
good.
the way he just like kind of threw himself into every sketch he was in, and but there was like this lovable kind of big shaggy dog quality about it. Where it's, just like, it's like, oh, it's Farley. I love Farley.
I know.
Everybody loves Farley.
Exactly. Like even now, when you go back and you watch the one of him and Patrick Swayze doing the like
Yeah, the
stripping and-
Chippendales.
That's a great sketch.
Like, I mean, some people look back, you know, and I think so often now people want to judge art in a different context than how when it was created, and they're like, oh, it's actually sad now that you think about it, and I'm like, I don't think it's sad at all. Like, I think Chris Farley, he was never the butt of the joke. Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, like the premise of the joke is like, oh, look, you know, Patrick Swayze has a great body and is an amazing dancer, and Chris Farley is not those things, but like, it's still a fun, playful joke. Like, it's not sad, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know?
No. Well, I mean, I think that sketch works as one. I think his moves actually are pretty good.
Yes.
He is a good
he's
dancer.
very limber. Yeah.
He was, had that physicality that made it work.
There was that one thing where he like threw himself on the floor and did like a
Yeah, the
snake
worm,
motion.
yeah.
It was like the worm. Like, I can't do that. How the hell is he doing that?
And also, I think the other thing that makes it work is that when the judges are commenting on his weight, this is like the first time it's occurred to anybody else in the room.
Yes.
They're like, yeah, you're physically repulsive and you would not be good as a Chippendales dancer. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
And it's like literally the first time he realized he
know.
does not look like a Chippendales dancer.
I know. I mean, and the judges, I feel like they sell it. It was Mike Myers, Nora Dunn, I believe, and someone else.
Kevin Nealon.
Okay,
I
yeah. And
remember.
they're just so... Like,
They're so stone-faced.
Yeah, I mean, it works because they are taking it so serious. Like, there's no silliness out of them,
Right.
Like, they're very invested in it. It's very, and that's why, like, it's so fun.
They are just studying them intently.
Yeah. And Patrick Swayze so earnestly is like, I don't know if I have a chance. You were so good out there, man. I mean, it works. Every single part of it works perfectly.
It's a classic sketch.
It is.
Absolutely. And as far as SNL Nerdum goes, you have one up on us. John and I. You've been to a live taping.
Yes, yeah.
Been to two live
of
tapings.
them. Yeah.
That's more than we have. So how does that work? How do you get in there?
God, well, I mean, I know that in theory you could send a postcard in during the month of August, and then you get entered into a
like a raffle type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like your name could be, and I know that some
They did that via email this year. I know.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Because when I was like a kid, I'd be like, how do I, and it was like, send in a postcard. And I know in theory that does work. Like I've heard about people who are like, oh my God, they drew my name. I'm coming to New York. I got tickets, whatever. And because you can either go to the show or to the dress rehearsal right before the show.
Right.
I mean, but it's such a small studio. There are very few seats in general. So I think to even get your name picked is pretty remarkable. I've done it the only way I know how to do it, which is you got to know somebody.
This is what I figured.
Grease some palms.
I know, yeah. Well, because I have a few friends who have written for it or are on it. My friend Pete is now the head writer for Weekend Update.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he and I met when I moved to New York in 2006. We met in a writing class at UCB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he got a job as a writer on Weekend Update probably in like 2012 or 2012 maybe. Because I remember he's such a funny character. He doesn't drink at all, and he's such a great guy. But he's like, let's go to Dave and Buster's to celebrate. So like a bunch of us,
Dave and Buster's, really?
Times Square,
Yeah.
Dave and Buster's, yeah.
Hardcore.
I know. I was like, oh God, this is so like it was so.
Did he
funny.
get extra sprinkles on his sundae?
I know, it was so insane. It was just so charming. Pete's such a great guy. But yeah, so he wrote for Weekend Update for a few years, and it was very sweet. Like I was so pleased for him. He's so funny. Like all the guys from that writing class are all doing great things. And actually, I think it was one of the only two girls. But many of us have stayed in touch. A bunch of us briefly ran a show together at the old Two Boots Pizzeria on Avenue A, which became UCB East, which now is I don't even know what
an empty slot.
Yeah, but it was so funny because Pete was working at SNL for a few years, and then one day out of nowhere he emailed me after a few years of him working there, and he goes, "Hey Selena, you're the only one of our friends who's never bothered me about tickets to SNL. Would you like tickets to SNL?"
Oh, wow.
I know. And I was like, oh my God, it pays to be very polite and not want to bother anyone.
Who knew?
Wow. What a nice, thoughtful thing.
I know, it was really sweet. And it was toward the end of, I forget which season it was. It was a few years ago.
You said like 2012, you said? Or...
That's when he got the job.
Oh, that's when he got the job.
So I think that when we went, the first time I went, I feel like maybe it was 2015 or so, or 2014.
Okay.
And
who was the host? Who was the musical guest?
The musical guest was Luis, who's this sort of like Latino rapper singer. Didn't break through that hard, I don't think.
Luis,
Was it Luis Guzman?
What?
Was it noted character actor Luis Guzman?
I didn't even know he had a musical career.
That would be amazing, though, wouldn't it?
I know.
Yeah, it'd be pretty...
I would love that.
I think that's what the guy's name was. I remember being like, this isn't really my music. And then the host, strangely enough, was why am I blanking on that super hot guy from Swingers?
Vince Vaughn?
Vince Vaughn, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't even know if he had... Yeah, I'm like, look up when he hosted maybe.
I will look it up.
And then you can remind me of what the heck year anything in my life happened, because everything blends together. But, yeah.
He hosted April 13th 2013 with musical guest Miguel.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Miguel.
Oh, okay.
Miguel. I was
Miguel.
like Luis.
The other,
I'm sorry.
So it sadly was not Luis Guzman.
that's a bummer.
Oh, I actually remember the opening bit. He like went into the audience and did the audience questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Maybe
okay.
you're in that shot.
Oh,
Are you? Were you spotted on camera at all?
No, but we were up like in the seats of.
Oh, yeah, like balcony.
Yeah. But
Gotcha.
the floor seats. It's funny because I used to assume that you had to like be more VIP to get floor seats, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's just a matter of what order you walk in. Because like I have a friend who was in floor seats and it was just a random chance, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but so we went. We saw the taping, which is so exciting to watch because, like, you know, they're
Right.
moving all the pieces in and out.
Now, to clarify, this was the actual live broadcast show, not the
Not the dress rehearsal. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really neat. You know, I mean, well, when when you know someone, you just like go to this person and they have your name written down, and then you wait in this line. It seems like going as a ticketed person is a little bit more of like kind of being corralled. You
Right.
know, like it kind of pays.
With the rabble.
Exactly. I was like, excuse me, my name, you should have it written down, thanks. And then, but yeah, I mean, it's really neat how they kind of like get you all like lined up and then you file in, get your seats.
Okay.
They do the show. And then we didn't go to the after party after because Pete was tired and I totally get that. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
So then, what was it, 2 or 3 years later, I decided to bother Pete myself.
Oh.
And I was like,
You got a little taste.
I know, exactly. I was like, I want in.
Like the first hit is free. After that, it costs it.
So you
Exactly.
want another SNL tick.
I know. And well, here's why I think this is why I bothered him is because the musical guest was Margot Price, who's this country singer who I love.
Okay.
So it was Margot Price, and the host ended up being Russell.
Crow, Brandt.
Who's the Australian one who got kind of heavy set?
Crow.
Russell Crowe. Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Russell Brand was the long-haired
Yes.
British weirdo.
Still is.
Yes, he's still long-haired and weirdo.
Okay, let's look up when Russell Crowe
I know. Like, what year
there.
was Russell Crowe?
All right, give me a second here.
Maybe it was 2017.
Okay, it's not saying on the NBC website.
boy.
Give me just a minute. No,
But,
keep talking.
Okay,
Keep
yeah.
Okay,
talking.
all right, yeah.
But yeah, and one thing I appreciate is they book a number of country acts always. Like they've had Sturgill Simpson,
Right.
They had Casey Musgraves, and which I tried to get tickets to that one too through my sister's friend who's on the cast, but it didn't work out. And then Margot Price, who I adore. I mean, she's this great like country Americana singer.
Oh, I didn't know you were a country fan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I love like country and more like, I mean, I do enjoy like top 40 cheesy country, but even more so I enjoy like better country, which is like Sturgill Simpson, Margot Price, why am I blanking on the music that I supposedly love?
Brooks and Dunn. That's all I really.
Oh, God.
I don't know country. That's
I
like-
like some of their classics. Or like Chris Stapleton. He's sort of, all the people I'm saying are like modern day country, but they're not the like Luke Bryan, like get in my truck, put on some tiny shorts. You know?
That's a great song.
I know, yeah. That's his newest single.
I've got the information on that episode now. That was
yay.
from April 9th, 2016. Russell Crowe, Margot Price. That was the 804th episode of
Yes.
SNL.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So-
I met Russell Crowe in the elevator on the way to the after party. I know. So here's how it played out. So
How did this?
I took this guy, Matt, who I was kind of casually seeing at the time.
Sure.
And who's so funny. He was a DEA agent. And he was just like, I was like, at the after party, you know, and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to try to turn the other way. Like, I'm not even going to pay attention. If I see drugs, it's all right, you know, like, because I didn't know. I was like, is it going to be like some raging party? You
I don't.
know?
That's like early.
Yeah.
That's like 77
exactly.
SNL. That's
Yeah.
not, it's not
And that's
that
like
anymore.
the after parties when the drugs come out. You know, like the after party, it's basically just like a big wedding reception that starts at 1 a.m. You
Yeah.
know, like it's just a huge dinner party, and each cast member and each like has their own table, and they can have all their friends at it or family. And then the weekend update table is like a little smaller, or not smaller, but it was just sort of like its own separate table.
Right.
So yeah, that one I took Matt. Oh, and interestingly enough, we didn't sit. Our tickets were for the writers' room. So I think that like, you know, every cast member and writer gets a certain number of tickets per week. And I think that if you've given out your tickets, you can technically they will seat people in the writers' room. So you sit in the writers' room, but you watch the show. It's in, you know, it's happening right behind you in the studio, but there's a curtain, so you watch it on TV. Which I know weird to like go.
It's got to be sort of surreal.
I know, because
Yeah.
you're like, I'm at SNL. Oh my gosh, like, you know, everyone, all the actors are walking around, and yet like I'm watching it on TV, you know. But it's really neat. Like, so we, you know, and it was just cool to be in that environment. And then when Margot Price, she played 2 songs, and you can sort of like, I don't know if it's supposed to be against the rules or whatever, but if you want to, you can kind of like go down the stairs and then watch from basically like watch her on stage performing. So I did that, which was so neat just to watch her like perform Hurtin' on the Bottle. Like, and I'm just standing, you know, like from here to like 10 feet away.
Yeah,
you know?
wow.
So it was really fun. And then afterwards we went to the after party, which was at some big restaurant that overlooks Columbus Circle. And so Matt and I are walking in, and at the same time, Russell Crowe and these 2 women are walking in. And so we all end up in the elevator together. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And, you know, and Matt and I are just like chatting with each other because I'm like, you know, don't make it weird.
Right.
And Russell Crowe says to the girls, he's like, you know, did you get that mango thing I asked for? And I was just like, in my head, I'm like, they're talking in code about drugs. Like, you know, I was like, oh, mango, sure. I know what mango stands for.
Yeah.
You know, like I just totally assumed that they were talking about drugs.
Like a speedball or something.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, oh, come on. You know, like, are you guys really talking fruit? Right. Like, I wasn't born yesterday. So then we go into the after party and we go to the weekend update table. And I say to my friend Pete what had just happened. I was like, Pete, I'm like, I rode the elevator with Russell Crowe and he was talking about mango. And Pete goes, oh, no, yeah. He's been making us fresh juices all week. I was like, what? He's like, he's really into fruit.
Oh, wow. All right.
Well, there you go.
I know,
Russell
I was like,
Crowe,
whoa.
health nut.
Yeah, who knew? Like, how sweet. Because I think that often the host will bring gifts for the whole staff and writers, you know, whatever.
Sure.
And so it must have been almost like an edible arrangement type thing, I think. Like, that he was like gifting them all fruits.
I love the idea of Russell Crowe giving people edible arrangements.
I know.
That's
like,
that
ooh,
so does not
pineapples.
seem to be his brand. Because
I know.
Because I remember like stories about him trashing
No,
hotel
yeah,
rooms
exactly.
and getting into fights and
Yeah.
and now he's giving out edible arrangements.
Yeah,
That's
I remember like
hilarious
the
to me.
old angry fighting
Yes.
Russell just drinking
Yeah.
whiskey and punching out people.
I
you
know.
Russell
And I
Crowe
kind of
fighting around the world.
Yeah.
And I love that I was like, oh, it's something more sinister than mango. And it's like, no, it's not. It truly is mango.
You are so jaded.
I know, exactly.
Don't
God.
be so naive, Diane.
I know. Yeah, but it was really fun. But it's so funny. Like I kept, you know, thinking like at a certain point, is this place going to be off the chain? And like, not at all. I mean, I think all the actors are exhausted after a long week.
Sure.
You know, and they all often have for family and that they have to kind of entertain. I did, you know, and I never like to bother celebrities, but I did. Margot Price walked by me at one point and I just said to her, I was like, I'm a huge fan. It was such an honor to see you perform tonight. And she was like, oh my God, thanks so much. Like, she's just so gracious.
Right.
And
Nice.
very underrated. I think she's just so brilliant. Yeah, so like lots of fun, but we were there till 4 a.m. and then and then I like took a cab home and was like, "Grr," you know, it was a fun night, but it was a late night.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I think those old like stories you hear about like the old SNL, like people getting drunk and doing blow. I think that's like of a bygone era. I think like
know.
now it's just way more subdued and chill.
Yeah, I think so. And if there is anybody doing that, yeah, they are doing it in the privacy of their own after parties or their own homes or
Yeah,
whatever.
totally.
Or maybe they don't. We don't know.
I know, yeah, or
We
maybe
don't-
I mean I know a
yeah.
number of. You know, like Anna Dresden, who writes for SNL, like she's totally sober. Like I feel like there's just people are much healthier even in that environment now. You know?
Yeah, I think like in the world of comedy now, it just seems like people are more healthier.
Yeah.
Like
I
I mean,
there's so many sober people in comedy. I mean, I guess there always has been, but it just seems like I notice it more now.
yeah, it's more. I mean, because we grew
There's
up.
less of a stigma to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I grew up in like in the '80s, where that whole rock and roll, you know, Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay type of comedy was prevalent. You know, especially if you look at old shows like what's that book? I'm Dying Up Here,
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
You know,
So
that's
good.
like stuff that happened at the Comedy Store. You hear about people are raging,
Yeah.
and now in the world of comedy, it's really not like that. Like a lot of people are sober, some people are straight laced, and
Yeah.
people are like maybe they'll do like some weed, but that's about it. There's no like that rock and roll craziness. Isn't
I know,
really there.
and I think it's really looked down on to be sloppy or to
Yeah.
like be on stage and be kind of slurring your words. It's like that's embarrassing. That's not cool.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
very much so. I mean, wow, you've been to like live shows and you've been to the after parties and you've done one huge thing. You did a little interview with a little person named Tina Fey.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's
just
her alma
recently.
mater.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
This was
yeah.
October 22nd,
Yes,
was it?
was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I interviewed Tina Fey at Hamilton College in Clinton, New York. Go
Which
Continentals.
is your alma mater.
Yes, yeah, it is my alma mater,
Right.
which is why it was so sweet. I mean, I love Hamilton so much, and I'm in contact with them a lot about, I mean, all sorts of events, or if ever, you know, like, I just feel like if Hamilton ever needs me to do anything, I'm like, of course.
Right.
So over the summer, they were like, hey, we just booked Tina Fey to come to campus and do a 90-minute interview, and we'd like for you to be the interviewer / moderator, whatever.
Oh, so they reached out to you.
Yeah, which I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Because I think it seemed like they wanted an alum to do it, and ideally an alum who knew a lot of her work, which I do. Although I did spend the whole summer like cramming Tina Fey. I felt like I was like studying for an exam. I was like 30 Rock. I reread her book. I was just like rewatching certain commercials from SNL. Oh my, I rewatched Mom Jeans. Oh,
Mom Jeans is great stuff.
Oh my god, so good. And also, do you remember this was one of my favorite ones, but I couldn't remember the title of it. Annuel.
I don't know.
Was that the birth control pill that you take once a year and then it makes you go psycho?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
It was a birth control pill where you take the pills every day and then you get your period once a year. And it's so funny because, it's just like, why have it every month when you could have it once a year? It's like, so enjoy like 11 months of no period. It's like, and then hold on to your hat. Like,
and then they're like playing death metal.
Yes, and she has like an axe and she comes out and just like, wah!
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so good.
I gotta rewatch.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
I had forgotten that one
Jeans.
until you mentioned it in the article, and then I read that in the article, and I was like, Annuel, what the heck is that? And then I racked my brain and I remembered it.
Yeah, it was so good. But it was so fun to interview Tina Fey. She was so lovely and gracious.
Wow.
I think she had a long day. She met with a class, so did like a smaller event with the class, and then we went over. Then she went to the field house, and it was 5,000 people in the field house at Hamilton.
Wow!
Plus a live stream for Hamilton people at home.
All sold out.
Yeah. Oh, totally sold out. Yeah. Woo. I know. Like, and I've never spoken in front of that many people. So even though like. It's funny because going into it, I was like, oh, I'm not nervous. I'm not doing stand-up. I'm just asking questions, Like the hard part is really on her. And in many ways it was. But it's still jarring to be in front of that many people. And just because of the timing of it, you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like she knew exactly how to pace the delivery of her story. Like she was very slow with the delivery, which was so smart because in a space that big, you really need time for everyone to hear it, to process it, to get it.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, you needed to play to the back room.
Exactly,
and
and they're pretty far away
room.
from you. It's sort of like how I used to feel about performing at UCB East. Like that was such a long venue that like I tend to go really fast in my jokes. And I screw myself up by that because, like, it almost sometimes I feel like a joke is like a wave, and like you have to give it time to travel all the way back. But her timing was so great. Like she, like somebody, we got a question in advance of the event. I wrote a bunch of questions, and then also they asked the community for any questions anyone wanted to hear, and then I sort of combined the two. And one of them that was so funny was, "Do you think you discovered Donald Glover?"
Interesting.
Because Donald Glover used to write for 30 Rock, and they hired him like right out of college.
Oh yeah, I think he may have actually almost still been in college.
I think he was doing both. Yeah,
I think he was like an RA at NYU or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. When there was just this sort of young phenom, and she was just so funny because it's like, do you think you discovered Donald Glover? And she's like, yes, like just like so like deadpan, and then very gracious and like, I don't know, like he's so talented, But yeah, she just, all of her answers were really wonderful. But I will admit, it was a learning experience for me because I had never done a 90-minute interview.
Wow.
And I don't know why. I think I kind of underestimated how many questions you needed up there. Like, because for whatever reason, like, I got it in my head and with my contact at Hamilton that like, for whatever reason, I was like, 10 questions. And when I think, oh my God.
See, okay, I've moderated some panels at comic conventions, and 10 questions. That is low.
Oh my God.
But
that's low for an hour.
Yeah.
Because you never know how much the person is going to talk.
I know. And that's the thing is like, in retrospect, and I learned so much from this, but in retrospect, I wish that I'd been like, can I connect directly with her people? And can you tell me, does she give long, verbose answers? Does she go on tangents or does she not? And in that case, I'll have roughly 45 questions,
Yeah.
But, so it was just such a good learning lesson for me to know what questions to ask, if I ever find myself doing this again, which I probably won't. And it's funny because I remember going into it, I was like, okay, the worst thing that could happen is I run out of questions while I'm on stage. And sure as shit, that's exactly what happened. Like,
oh, shit.
Yeah.
Is that when you threw it to the audience?
Oh, I was not allowed to do that.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Oh.
Why?
See, that's my go-to when I'm blanking on what to ask or...
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, did you say, do you have any questions for me, Tina Fey?
oh God.
Anything you want to ask me?
Now let me tell you some stories, Tina
Exactly.
Fey.
What is my favorite SNL sketch? Well, funny you ask. Yeah, I mean, it ended up, everything was fine. And I think my friends who watched it said that they felt like the second half of the interview just got a little more conversational and sort of loose.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, we whipped through it. Like, she's very concise in her answers, and she's done a million interviews, and
Yeah.
and I felt I didn't.
She's very media savvy. At
Yes,
this point.
exactly. And I didn't. I mean, it was too bad because I really wanted to drill into some like a kind of inside baseball stuff. But
Right.
I know that like there were people in the field house who are just local people who live near Hamilton who don't even quite SNL. What
Right.
So I felt like it was tricky because on the one hand I wanted to ask her some foundational stuff, make sure everyone could have an on ramp to meet her.
Right.
But I guess I wish that I'd prepared some more questions that were a little inside baseball and just been like, you know what, everybody's got to deal with it because a lot of people know her, know her work, and this won't be out of left field.
Okay. Well, what were you thinking about asking her? Like stuff about like Chicago improv or time?
I asked about Dratch and Faye, which was like her show that kind of like catapulted her in Chicago. That was
Right.
Rachel Dratch and Tina Fey. I mean, I guess. Or even like get more in the weeds on 30 Rock specificities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was, so we got through the planned questions in 40 minutes. And then for 50 minutes, I just sort of winged it,
Sure.
which was like very stressful. I mean, and she was great about it and it all worked out A-okay. And she was, so afterwards we got off stage and I was like, I'm really sorry. I whipped through those questions. And so I just sort of had to, make up questions on the fly. And she's like, you did great. Like, it was so nice, but I just didn't want to stumble into any area she might not want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you don't want like that awkward moment on stage.
exactly. Where
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, please don't mention that I live in New York," or whatever it may be.
Right.
Well, I mean, did her people like maybe contact you beforehand saying, "Oh, by the way, don't ask her about this, and this," or
No, and
Oh.
it's a good lesson for me to like. I know. Okay, maybe I preemptively should do that. Like I should ask, is there anything off limits?
Yeah,
if I
that's-
find myself scrambling, what should I just not talk about? But everything else is fair game.
Yeah, that's not a bad question to ask privately ahead of time. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I know, and I wish I had. But I mean, everything went great, and she shared some great stories about even. I mean, one question that I was very proud of that I asked her. We started talking about the show with Ellie Kemper.
Kimmy Schmidt.
Kimmy Schmidt, yeah, because that was
Who's
created-
also in Bridesmaids.
Yeah, and Bridesmaids, because that was created by Tina Fey and Robert Carlock.
Kimmy Schmidt was.
Yes, yeah, Kimmy Schmidt was. And so I said, we were sort of talking about if she'd been, wanting to create a vehicle for Ellie Kemper specifically. And I was like, is Kimmy Schmidt sort of Ellie Kemper turned up to 11? And she, and she was like, in some ways, yeah. And then I was like, is Liz Lemon Tina Fey turned up to 11? And she was like, no, it's more like Tina Fey turned down to 6 or so.
Really?
Which was so funny. I just thought it was such a funny way of, because I was like, and then she sort of expanded and was like, maybe if Tina Fey had never met a wonderful husband and had,
Right. I believe she said something like that
Yeah.
to that effect before.
just like sort of
in
different
other interviews.
pathways,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, I don't know. And it was neat too. We talked a bit about imposter syndrome, and
wow.
especially in the context of a writer's room like SNL, for her to be the first female head writer, I was like, was that sort of scary for you? Did you have imposter syndrome, even though you're so qualified and talented and,
Right.
you were so deserving of it? And she was so funny. She's like, I think I have the opposite of imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yeah, which I was like, bravo.
Well done.
I think
All
she's
right.
just someone who's always been very confident and she knows that she's talented and she's very capable. And
Yeah.
I really, it's so funny because I can't relate to that at all,
Neither can I. But
It's like confidence. What's that?
there was a moment. I don't know if you watched her interview recently on David Letterman's Netflix show. My next guest needs no introduction.
I did not watch it, but I should have.
Okay, he was very complimentary towards her on this thing that she did on Weekend Update. I think when she was hosting, or maybe she made a surprise appearance. I forget what it was.
Oh, the cake,
The sheet cake.
sheet
the sheet
cake. Yeah.
cake.
And Letterman was like, I thought that was great. I thought that was wonderful. And Tina Fey immediately said, thank you. Here's what was wrong with it. Like, I didn't make this turn that I should have. And I thought that was fascinating that she just immediately accepted the compliment and then she immediately went into, here's how it could have been better.
Yeah.
Right, because I remember that was a big to-do for a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
how she was like people read it as her kind of saying you should be maybe just eat cake and be complacent to all these, after all these horrible things
Right.
happened.
And
like,
I think that was her big problem.
Charlottesville
And
and whatnot.
especially like, and as a white woman, to be like, whatever, tune it out and eat cake. It's like, oh god, like that just seems like it reeks of privilege and seems
she's
out of touch.
She's literally saying, "Let them eat cake."
Yeah,
Right,
I know.
right.
I mean, and I sort of thought at some point they would come to a joke about that, and they didn't. In that,
Right.
But I do appreciate that she has been very open about that specifically. Because, and I remember I was going to ask her about it, and we sort of didn't get to it.
Yeah, see, that'd be maybe one of the questions she might want to talk about.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it was. There was some. Yeah.
I mean, she talked about it with Letterman, so I think
Yeah.
she would have been fine talking about it with
Yeah.
you.
But I
most
just give her
likely,
a lot of credit because I feel like some
Yeah.
people, they'll never back down from, even if it's like, yeah, I made that 20 years ago. Or like, yeah, it could have been a different angle. Like, I just appreciate that she seems to really own her own, just be like,
Yeah,
maybe I wish it hadn't come out that way.
And also the show was done. SNL has done at such a frantic speed.
Yeah.
You're writing stuff, and then max 5 days later, it's on national television.
Yeah.
That's not a whole lot of time to contemplate
Exactly.
about it.
Like
Or
the
like,
potential
well, what are we saying
ramifications.
here? Look,
Yeah.
maybe we should rewrite this 6 times. I
Yeah.
mean. Lorne Michaels has a saying. He says, like, the show doesn't go on because it's ready. The show goes on because it's 11:30.
Yes. Yeah. It's not
Which-
done.
yeah.
It's due.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
exactly.
I mean, and she talked about that too in her book. She talked about when during the, I think it was the 2006 primary. Or no, leading up to the 2008 election. Just that, was that the one where she did "Bitch is the New Black"? And,
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
and that was really seen.
And then Tracy Morgan responded like a week or two later. He said, "Bitch is the new black, but black is the new president, bitch."
Oh my god!
Damn.
Yeah. Like in her book, she said that they sort of wrote that "Bitch is the New Black" like right. before she kind of went on, and and then the Clinton camp saw it as like her being like, "I'm with Clinton, I'm not with Obama."
Right.
And she was like, "No, that's not what I meant to do." Oh god,
Yeah.
Right.
Like I mean, sometimes things can be misconstrued, or you're just quickly punching up a script right before you go on stage.
And I remember, I think she said this in her book, Bossy Pants. She talked about when she was doing Sarah Palin, and of course they did the inevitable, we'll have the real Sarah Palin come on and make a cameo. And Tina Fey was like, I don't want to appear in the same shot with her.
Yeah.
Which I thought was so perceptive.
Yeah.
Because she immediately realized like that could be misconstrued, that could be taken out of context.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think she's so savvy about it, especially
that's
with
what I was thinking.
Yeah, like with not wanting to be seen as overly cruel to Sarah Palin or overly like
Easy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel like there's such a double standard for sort of the dress up and mock up of politicians, male versus female, I know she's got a lot of backlash from conservative groups that like she was so cruel to Sarah Palin, and it's like, but male politicians, people have been doing impressions of them since the dawn of time, and no one said, you know what I mean? Like, why should women be held to a different standard? Everything is fair game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our current president's not crazy about the way he's being portrayed now, and he's all up in arms about that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
It's
He's very caught up in that.
He is, isn't he? He'd think
my
he'd be
God.
He's,
busy with work, but apparently not.
Look, I mean, the more time he spends watching late night TV, the less damage he can do in other areas.
Executive time. All day, every day, executive time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I mean, the fact that you got to interview Tina Fey, I think, is tremendous. I mean, for my money, I think she's like one of the best writers SNL's ever had.
yeah.
Like, I still think about Meet Your Second Wife. That sketch, like at least once every couple of months. I'm
It
like,
is
God
so
damn.
sharply written, that
is.
sketch.
Yeah, and
it's just got a real bite to it.
That thing's a knockout punch. That sketch.
Yeah, and she was talking about a lot of the Palin stuff that where like she and Amy Poehler would be together doing Palin Clinton, and just how sort of carefully they would craft it. And she in Bossy Pants she has like a script like actually printed out where they've done edits, and it's like. I mean, Tina Fey to me is like a machine, and she just knows the formula so well for like exactly what is the right amount of funny and where can this go and like what's the nice twist, she just has such a brain for it.
Yeah.
I always enjoy. I mean, I always enjoy like her stuff at 30 Rock or stuff at
Oh my god,
Kimmy Schmidt and Mean Girls, of course.
Yeah.
And,
Mean Girls blew me away the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, honestly, like, I hate to say it's about myself, but like when I saw the like trailers and commercials for it, I thought it was one thing.
Yeah.
But then when I actually saw it, I was like, oh no, this isn't.
You just thought it was like this cute teen thing, which is kind of how they promoted it, I think, and
Yeah.
understandably so. And I saw it, like a girl I've seen at the time, she showed it to me, and I was like, wow, this was like really sharply written.
It was like
And
it was like way smarter than I thought it'd be. I was like, whoa.
exactly.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so well done. And like 30 Rock, God, I was rewatching it, and it's just like layers upon layers upon layers of jokes.
It's a very densely packed show.
It really is. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I mean, there's like jokes in there that you'd only get if you lived in New York, and there's other like really like just kind of like inside jokes in there, and then there's like a jokes within a joke, and there's stuff.
And they're weird runners, like them,
Yes.
them hinting that Kenneth is immortal.
Yeah.
I mean, throughout the show.
Kenneth, talk about Jack McBrayer turned up to 11. You know, like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's, my sister knew Jack McBrayer in LA, or in Chicago. And
Jack
I was-
McBrayer went to my college, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
He was like a year or two behind me.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
Holy
yeah.
Is he,
moly.
and because he's from, where is he from originally? Girl?
Georgia.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
And it was-
I'm the
That's all
worst.
right.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay.
But yeah, he just
That's
strikes-
Jack McBrayer texting.
I know. I was like, I
He's just
heard
like-
you were, yeah.
I am from Georgia.
You talking about me?
I can sense it.
But yes, we both went to the University of Evansville. I don't remember him. I have like friends who were like closer with him, but we both partied at the same place, a place called the House of the Hopeless, which were these guys who lived off campus. These 5 guys,
Oh my
and
God. I love that. The house.
The House and the Hope.
the House of the Hopeless. My friend Andrew Reinhardt, he wrote a column about them in the school paper, and I did cartoons for that. So we were both invited over to the parties there, and they knew like a lot of the theater kids, and Jack McBrayer was one of the theater kids.
Oh, that's
and,
so rad.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of him from the parties, and
Look at you.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, his character in 30 Rock always struck me as him turned up to 11. You know,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
so sweet, such a
Yeah.
sort of pleaser, you know?
yeah.
Okay. Far out. But yeah, I mean, Tina Fey. Yeah,
I know.
Congrats. That's fantastic.
It was super
That's
fun.
Did you get to like interact with her much off stage?
A little bit before,
Uh-huh.
but not a ton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did
Which,
her people dash her off like right after?
I mean, she
Like the
only,
president?
She just had like a young assistant that she was with. But right after they did a photo line of like, so if you'd like if you'd won this raffle, or some staff members from Hamilton. So like, I really kind of like kept her. I didn't want to overwhelm her, because I think she just
Yeah.
had a long day of like this class, the 90-minute thing, and then a photo line. You know, so I was
Sure.
sort of like,
That's a lot.
Look, yeah, you know. So, but I do wish that I'd asked her for a selfie. you know,
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I just feel like a tight selfie can be such a fun thing. You know.
I mean, you've got some nice pictures of you on stage. She's like climbing on the desk.
Yeah,
at one
what brought
point.
that on?
Oh, I know. It was so funny, and she didn't warn me she was going to do it. So I was like, my response is so surprised, because there were 2 chairs and like a really big coffee table was like the setup for the event, and they announced us, and like in kind of classic style of like people who don't have a lot of events, they announced her first and then me, and I was like,
Well, how?
yeah, I was
Yeah.
Don't you bring the host first?
Yeah, that's kind of
I
anticlimactic.
know. Like
but
in retrospect, I wish that I'd been like, "Hey, wait, can we go over exactly how the intros are going to go?" You know,
Yeah,
like,
right.
sure.
I wish that I'd asked a lot more things. But
hindsight 2020.
I know, yeah, but yeah, it was sort of odd how it all went out. And then we walked out together, and I mean, I really wish that they'd introduced me with my resume. I'd come out, I'd sat down, then get ready. Here's why we're all here. you
Right.
know?
Yeah, that's how it's always done.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so she and I walked out together, and she went to the front of the stage and was like waving, and everyone's cheering for her, and I sort of went behind, because I was like, no one cares, you know, like, and I know my place.
Yeah.
But it was so funny, because then she like got up on the coffee table and was like, yeah, you know.
Oh, so that was right at the
arms.
beginning.
She did it at the beginning and the end.
Oh, wow.
And then during the interview, she got on the coffee table and like just rotated her body, like it was hilarious.
I guess Tina Fey just likes being on coffee tables
I
or
know.
something.
I mean, but you know what? It struck me as like just the right way to be like, this is fun, this is silly, let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think sometimes a formal event like that, where everyone's sitting in the field house and they scrunch up chairs, you know, like, and it's a moderated, it's a Q&A. You know,
It could be
like,
very inside the actor studio or something like that.
yeah, and like take itself too seriously. Like I just
Yeah.
felt like it kicked off such a fun energy in the room of like,
Right.
yeah, like we're all here, we're psyched, let's get silly, this will be fun, you know.
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty smart of her to do that.
That's
I know.
very
It made me
perceptive.
wonder if she always does that at events like this, you know? Because
Yeah.
I was like, it's such a great way to do it. Like, it got me jazzed, but you can see in the photo, I'm like, wow! Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, you know?
That's great.
Yeah, it was really really fun. It was
All right,
very neat.
yeah, so
That
guys,
sounds like such a great experience.
It was really cool.
I'm so happy for you, and I'm also just so envious too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, who wouldn't want an hour or so to talk with
I mean,
Tina
that's
Fey?
a dream right there.
I mean, while we were on stage, even though I was like kind of freaking out and like sweating through my dress because they had a photo clock, iPad on the table that was like counting down the minutes, and I was whipping through the questions, so I was like very nervous, but also in my
God.
head I was like. But like, what is such? I was like, I'm talking to Tina Fey for 90 minutes. You know, like holy shit.
See, I mean, it's a weird thing because I mean, you want to enjoy the moment, but you also have to keep a part of your brain.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, well, what do I ask him next?
Exactly.
How much time do I have left? Do I do this and do that?
Exactly, and especially as
And you couldn't throw to the audience for questions.
No.
That's God.
no.
Oh God.
I mean, that's why I like. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever be able to wear that dress again because I just was like, oh, you know. And as she's answering a question, I'm like thinking of a backup, and you know,
Sure.
like I mean, it's like doing a stand-up set where you know, well, as you're telling one joke, you're already in your brain, you're thinking about the next joke. Like, so you really, it's hard to.
You got to roll with
yeah,
it and just be present enough to.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I was trying to have a balance of like being present and truly listening because and that's my like going into it. I was like, I just have to listen because I hate interviews where the person doesn't just listen and isn't there, you know. And so I was.
I'm sorry. What?
I see what you did there. Oh, nice.
But yeah, I was.
Bravo.
Once we like went off script, as she was answering, I was trying to just be like. Okay, so your daughters you were talking about, do they like your stuff? You know, like just trying to be present in the moment because it needs to be a conversation. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Wow.
Woo!
All right. So
Wow.
I mean, now hopefully, I mean, if you get to do it again, you'll know. And
I was thinking, I was like, it was such a good learning experience of like, okay, anytime I'm doing any type of interview going forward, I'm going to be like, I've arrived with roughly 300 questions. Okay, like,
and when you walk into the interview, stand on the table.
I know,
Yes. I mean,
Everybody,
that's-
just stand on tables.
That's
Exactly.
that's
That's
just
the
good
takeaway.
advice for life.
Yeah.
takeaway,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you go in for a job interview, just stand on the guy's desk. Be like, hey, what's going on, fella? That's right. that's how I'm going to do it. All right, so let's get into this movie.
Those are some great stories, though. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank you
sharing
so
those
much.
with
Thank
us.
you. Yeah, and let's talk
So,
Bridesmaids.
We're going to talk Bridesmaids.
I mean, this movie didn't come out that long ago. I think we all, did we all
8
see it
years
in the
ago.
Yeah, I mean, we all saw it in the theaters.
I did
Yes.
not. I actually saw it
What?
after the fact. I don't know
Interesting.
what I was doing.
Why
in
do you hate
2011.
women?
I know exactly.
Well, let me tell you.
Oh God!
Let me get the list.
Where do we start?
Wow. But yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this in the theater because the hype was big and all the trailers and commercials looked great, and I saw it and I was like, wow, this is really funny and really well done. It was a good mix of kind of that Apatow humor, like this frat bro humor. Of course, the scene, the most famous scenes of like the ones in the airplane and the diarrhea scenes.
Oh my God.
But it then also had like these very sweet, tender moments, like because the movie basically is about kind of this one woman, Annie, played by Kristen Wiig, and like how she's kind of on the downslide career-wise and just in life, and her friendship with her friend Lillian, played by Maya Rudolph, and how Lillian gets engaged to her boyfriend, and like how she's kind of it's a weird space. It's like because like her friend Lillian,
They get kind of out of sync.
yeah, very much so.
And one of my favorite things about this film is the way that they don't demonize Lillian, the bride. Like, because going into it, I was like, oh, great. Is this going to be a movie about a bridezilla on the run? And then Kristen Wiig's character, Annie, has to deal with the fallout. And it was like, I love that they didn't make Maya Rudolph's character into an unrealistic bitch. Like, it was just very much like, okay, here, I mean, a lot, I felt like so much of the storyline is Annie, Kristen Wiig's character, having like this sort of her own creation in her own head, pressure or like, bad vibes for Rose Byrne's character, which I was like, it was so nice to see that it wasn't just women against women.
Right.
It was like Annie's own insecurities sort of projecting onto others, and the bride wasn't making everyone's life hell. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, no, very much so.
Because Annie was the really screwed up one.
Yeah.
out of the
Right.
bunch.
Yeah,
I mean, the others all had their own problems.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Wendy McLendon Covey's character,
Yes.
who
So
has
great.
basically been like married too long, and she's very stifled by her suburban existence.
Yeah, and her boys are crazy. She's
Yeah.
like they're all teenagers now. And it's like there's just
the laundry's disgusting.
Yeah, there's semen everywhere. Like I snapped a blanket in half. That's a great line.
and Ellie Kemper.
Becca is a friend from work,
Yeah.
and of course Melissa McCarthy, who is plays Lillian's
groom's brother. The groom's sister, I
yeah.
should say.
Exactly. Whoa.
I should say.
Yeah.
'Cause I should say that because it's actually correct.
Yes.
She is
and
the-
like this is her Melissa McCarthy's breakout role. She pretty much stole
Oh
every
my God,
scene
she
in this
stole,
movie.
yeah.
She
So
got an
funny.
Academy Award nomination
Yes,
for
this-
this,
Oh my
which I'd
God.
forgotten.
This movie she got a nomination from it, and this movie got nominated for best screenplay.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
surprised
and for
by
a
that.
comedy, that's super
Yeah,
rare.
That's
Yeah,
remarkable.
yeah. I mean, the only other, I can't think of too many other comedy nominations. There was
mean-
Kevin Kline for A Fish Called Wanda.
Oh, that's right. I mean, Annie Hall was the one everybody knows.
Oh yeah, Annie Hall won Best Picture.
But yeah, I mean, comedies
beat
don't-
out Star Wars.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
God damn. But yeah. I mean, comedies don't get love like that. So the fact that this got nominated is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, as far as the movie goes, the movie is basically centered around Annie, played by Kristen Wiig. She's out of work. She was a pastry chef who started her own business. This takes place in Milwaukee. So she had her own pastry, place.
Cake Boss.
Cake Baby.
Cake Baby.
Cake
Sorry.
Boss is a TV show.
That is. That is.
So, but
I'm going to be quiet for a while.
Okay, but the store went out of business because it was during the recession, and during that time, her boyfriend dumped her. So her life right now is kind of on the downslide, and she's living in an apartment with this weird brother-sister duo played by Matt Lucas and Rebel Wilson. First time, I think Rebel Wilson ever got.
This was like her first movie
I know.
role, apparently.
I know,
Yeah.
and I found them bizarre in the film.
Yeah.
Well, they are bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are, but like,
They're bathing together at one point.
How
and they're brother and
bizarre.
sister.
How bizarre! How bizarre!
yeah, I don't know. In the film for me, I was like, why are you here?
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
that storyline. It doesn't. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but you could have done.
Yeah,
without
I could have done without
It
it.
could have cut
100%.
out pretty
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah, my wife actually saw it with me, and she's like, "Oh yeah, Rebel Wilson has like an Australian accent. Matt Lucas has a British accent, but they're brother and sister."
Oh, I know.
was like,
yeah.
And they never address it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then you have the small town cop played by Chris
Chris
O'Dowd.
O'Dowd, yes.
Yeah.
From the IT crowd.
Yeah, I love that show.
And
dude.
I like him a lot. He seems great. I thought his casting was terrible. Like
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm so like maybe I'm thinking Milwaukee's a little too small town, and I've only been there a handful of times, but like I don't believe that a guy. Wait, does he have an Irish accent? Or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
He was written with an American accent, but they found his accent so charming to just say, just speak in your Irish accent.
And also, if you're improvising a lot, which they obviously did a lot of in this movie, it's easiest if you're doing it in your natural voice.
I mean, I get why they were like, just be yourself,
Yeah.
like, and he's very likable. I just had a hard time believing that a small town cop in the Milwaukee area came over from Ireland to be a small town, like,
Yeah.
it's a bit
They're
of a
very
stretch.
cosmopolitan, apparently.
yeah, I don't know. To me,
Yeah.
it just was like, who's this guy's agent? Because he did a great job shoving his client in this film,
See, I really enjoyed him. I thought he was very charming.
Yeah.
I thought it was charming. I just found the accent. I was like,
well, they do
don't know.
address it in one scene.
oh, do they? I didn't remember
Yeah.
that.
Well, I watched the extended cut, so maybe that's not in the theatrical cut.
I
I don't know.
don't think
I
it's in the
also
theatrical.
haven't seen
I
it.
would-
I should have rewatched it in preparation, but I
Ooh,
didn't.
boy.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I just and not to sound too like rah rah America, but I found that Rebel Wilson and Chris O'Dowd, like I just felt like to me. And granted, I'm always thinking about who his agent is pulling the strings. I just felt like I saw a
That's
lot
how
of like
you've heard too much from
I
your
know,
relatives.
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
your
I
friends.
was like, oh, I can tell some agents shoved their clients into this movie because they knew it was going to be a rocket ship, and they were right. But like, I don't know. There were times where the accents just pulled me out of it because I was like,
Yeah.
huh?
No,
Yeah,
I won't fight you on that. But yeah, so Annie, she's kind of on the downslide job-wise. She has a job at a jewelry store that her mom hooked her up with because her mom is the AA sponsor of The Boss.
Yeah.
And she's not really loving it there. And she's also kind of seeing this guy named Ted, played by John Hamm. Like the first scene we have is a sex scene, but it's like a really hilarious sex scene where they're just awkwardly going to Pound Town, and he's just like,
I'm sorry. I just love the phrase "going to Pound Town."
yeah, that's how I talk.
I know.
It just makes me.
I know.
It makes me into a 12-year-old boy again.
Yeah, so like it opens with them having sex, but like he's just kind of doing her, and their rhythm is off, and the next morning he kind of says, "Oh, I kind of want you to leave, but I don't know how to do it without being a dick."
Yeah.
It's like that type of
His
relationship.
character is kind of a dick. And
Yeah.
it was fascinating that I read in the trivia for this that John Hamm actually didn't he wasn't credited for this because at the time he was known mainly for drama. He was known
Right.
for Mad Men, and I guess he hadn't done his guest shots on 30 Rock yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Right.
didn't want people thinking it was potentially a more serious movie than it was.
Oh, interesting. So he wasn't
I was
like promoted in the
that's
cast.
Kinda, that's kind of cool. I think he showed up in the trailers though, didn't he?
He
I didn't
might-
rewatch the trailer.
He
but-
did. Like he was briefly from what I remember from the trailers, he was in a trailer or two.
Yeah.
And also, I found out about John Hamm is before he moved to Hollywood, he taught drama in Missouri,
St. Louis.
in
Yeah.
St. Louis, and one of his students, Ellie
Kemper.
Kemper.
Yeah.
It all comes together.
It's a family affair.
I know.
Yeah. So
St. Louis must be a tiny town, huh?
I guess so. But yeah, so Annie is with Ted, but Ted only sees it as like, they're just hooking up. They're not.
Right.
He doesn't want anything serious.
This, by the way, this struck me as kind of a Hollywood version of hitting rock bottom. I was like, okay, well, you say you've hit rock bottom, but you're still sleeping with John Hamm.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, come
Cry me
on,
a
lady.
river.
I
I
mean,
mean,
John Hamm's like so handsome. I think I would make out with him.
he's a handsome fella.
He's a handsome man.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
He's a jerk, but
yeah, he's a
this
jerk. But
movie,
that's the thing. I think that's why Annie keeps coming back. Where it's
Right.
like, yeah, he treats her like crap, but he's super handsome and he's got money,
Right.
And he wants her, even though it's just physical. At least he wants her for something. So I was like, well,
Yeah, apparently
all right.
the exterior of his house in this movie was used as the house of somebody on Beverly Hills 90210.
Yes, I read that too.
I think it was like Kelly's. I forget all the characters. What was the
Oh.
blonde one?
There's Kelly and there's Donna. So
Okay,
Tori
Kelly,
Spelling,
the one who
yeah.
wasn't Tori Spelling.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm forgetting
Jenny
her
Garth.
name. Thank you.
Wow,
yeah.
Jenny good.
I know my 9-0.
Oh, you know your blondes. All right.
Yes, true.
All right, so Annie's her life is kind of going not great, and she finds out her best friend Lillian is getting married and is engaged, and then she goes to the bridal bridal party, I guess, to celebrate.
Yeah, she meets all the.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah, I think
engagement
it's the-
party.
Yeah, engagement
Yeah,
party.
that's the word.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
engagement party. So she drives
You're
up.
married. How do you not
I
know
don't.
this?
Hey, whatever,
Hey,
man.
also, engagement parties are optional. I feel like there's been such a proliferation of events surrounding weddings, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff. But yeah,
It's a
she
lot of
meets
stuff.
the other.
She
gal.
meets the other one. She drives up in her old beat up '80s Toyota Corolla. Either
Yeah.
it's Corolla or a Camry, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the old school car. And she meets the other bridesmaids, and then I liked how that she kind of immediately kind of got overwhelmed with everything because like she drives up in her beat up car. She's dressed nice, but she's not like fancy. But she sees the house is like super fancy, and you already kind of get the sense that. Oh, she doesn't fit in, but her friend does fit in because she's
Right.
kind of marrying into this,
Yeah.
which kind of creates like some weird friction. So one of the first big scenes is they have like the dueling toast, where she gives a toast saying, how much she means to, how much her friend Lillian means to her, and then kind of Rose Byrne, who is kind of Lillian's new friend, kind of one ups her, and then they have this one.
Okay,
up thing.
now was Helen the new friend and Kristen Wiig was the childhood friend?
Yes.
Or was it
Yes.
vice versa?
No,
because I was getting confused by that one on this rewatch.
Kristen Wiig is Annie. Annie and Lillian known each other since childhood.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Oh,
then, yeah,
okay.
The Rose Byrne character
Helen.
is Helen. She's sort of the newer friend, and I think
All right.
she comes off as sort of snobby and icy, but I
Yeah.
don't think she's even like trying to be like. I appreciated they
Right.
had like kind of a gentle touch on that.
Right.
She's not an out and out bitch.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
she's not
She
so.
intimidates Annie, but it's
Yeah.
mostly because Annie's feeling down in the dumps about where her life is.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a bit of like a class thing too, because
Yeah.
Rose Byrne's character has money.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're like down and out, you feel very self conscious
Oh, yeah.
about that sort of thing.
Oh yeah,
I've
I used
certainly been there.
to say to my ex-boyfriend who was very wealthy, like he was always like, I don't even notice our class differences, and I would like, and it was when I lived in Chicago and I was
Yeah.
broke, and I would always be like, the person on top never the
Right.
like they're always a-okay. It's the person on the bottom who's like self-conscious.
Yeah,
and
when
is
you're
thinking about-
scraping for every dollar.
Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
like they
like-
have a scene where she's looking at her paycheck. They're talking about flying to Vegas, and she's
Yeah.
looking at her paycheck, and it's like $300 something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, there's no way.
exactly. Yeah.
There's,
But yeah, I also like that too. Like how when with the bachelorette party, like Annie wanted to do something at Lillian's family's house in the woods, like their lake house. But then she kind of gets roped into them going to Vegas,
Right.
And it's like, oh, I can't afford. I appreciated that because like as somebody who kind of that happens to a lot of us, where like our friends who are maybe have a little bit more money want to do something, and we don't want to be the one saying, well, I can't do that because I don't have any money. So you just
Yeah.
kind of passively do it, but you're like trying to trying to save a dollar here or there.
Yeah.
Well,
But you know, I liked that even though like you understood why Annie didn't care for Helen so much or was intimidated by Helen. I like that they didn't make Helen like a total bitch on wheels.
Oh,
Right, no.
completely.
To the point
Same.
where you wonder, like, well, why is she friends with Lillian?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so
I
that
mean,
was nice.
Yeah, and I mean that's how I feel about the Helen character and Lillian character. Like neither was bitchy at all. It was
Right.
more so about Annie's own insecurities and yeah, these very relatable things that come up when you're a bridesmaid or in a wedding. You know,
Right.
like the money you're supposed to drop. All of the different
Ooh.
events, you know, and truly like the competitive nature of the friendships. You know, like I feel like
Right.
I've definitely been, you know, a part of weddings and bridal parties where there is a little bit of like, well, but I'm the childhood friend. Hey, you know, like I know
Right.
your sorority sisters are here and that's great, but like don't, you know, I'm not nobody. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I mean, like from what I've remembered in the movie, like Lillian and Helen have only known each other for like 8 months. Like, because Helen is.
That totally went over my head. I
Yeah,
somehow
yeah.
missed that line. I
Yeah,
must
she
have-
says like, "Oh, you only known for 8 months," and like they know each other because Helen is the wife of
boss.
Dougie's boss.
Yeah.
Like Lillian's getting married to Dougie,
Right,
and
okay.
Helen is the wife of Dougie's boss.
All right.
So like,
so
they're-
there's also a power dynamic there. You know, of,
yeah.
yeah.
A little bit. But I mean, one of the other scenes I really liked, it was like a very simple scene. It was kind of quiet where it's just one scene where Annie goes back home after she gets pulled over by the cop, Rhodes, Chris, her dad, but Rhodes lets her go because she has a broken taillight. And she's like making like this cupcake by herself. She's like,
Yes.
it was a really quiet, simple scene. And like Fiona Apple's song was playing in the background, I think Paper Bag, and it's just her just in the kitchen baking this, this pastry, this cupcake for herself, and just eats it. I really kind of dug it because usually, like in movies like this, or maybe just in life, where you see somebody who's kind of not having everything together in their life, you automatically think, oh, maybe they're just like a screw up or like a stoner or just some pothead who doesn't have their life together. But with this scene, it's like, oh, no, she's actually skilled. She's a really good baker.
It was good to see her be good at something.
Yeah, like she's actually really good at this. She's just
And-
not. Her life isn't where it is, but she actually has. She can contribute.
Yeah, because she did a whole like flower on top. right,
Yeah.
that she made.
And because like her business failed, it seemed like she didn't really have the confidence to do anything more with that at that point.
Right,
in
exactly.
her
but she
life.
still
But-
like, but it still probably brought her pleasure and calmed her down, and like, yeah, I
Right.
remember that scene so vividly, which is funny because I haven't seen it in a long time, but I just remember, being very struck by how sort of tender that was, and that we really saw her just kind of trying to navigate this thing, and then going back to like the thing that calms her down and gives her happiness,
Right,
which
it
is like
could
baking.
have just been the ritual of it as much as the making of it,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I also like how they put in other SNL alums in this one. Like there was a big tennis ball scene where they're playing tennis, and we see Nancy Wall and Melanie Hutzel. And
I noticed that too. I
popped
was
out
like,
of
is
nowhere.
that Melanie Hutzel? And I was like, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And Lillian's dad was played by Franklin Ajayi, big comedian from the 70s. I was like, wow, they're pulling out all the stops here. And of course, then there's like another. The next scene is where her and Lillian and all the bridesmaids just go to this Brazilian restaurant. It's kind of a cheap Brazilian place.
Yeah, it's a sketchy place
Yeah,
that
I mean, they only-
Annie has picked out.
Yeah, it's Annie picked that just because it's cheap and she didn't have much money, and like they all kind of end up getting food poisoning from the meat.
Yeah.
Which leads to one of the bigger scenes, of course, where they go into the bridal gown store.
Right.
And at first they can't get in because Annie didn't know you need a reservation. But then the person behind the desk, Helen says, "Oh, hey,
Right.
it's me, Helen," and it's like, "Oh, Helen, hey, yeah, come on in."
Come right in. Come right in. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course they try.
Again,
out-
it's all who you know. The SNL after parties, the bridal dress shops.
True,
It
yeah.
all
It's all
comes
who
together.
you know.
But then after that, of course, one of the biggest scenes is where they try on dresses, and of course, Annie's trying to sell them on these more simpler, cheaper dresses that she can afford, and everybody wants to go with the more expensive stuff.
There was one little moment where Kristen Wiig is like trying to sell the others on the simpler, cheaper dress, and she's like, "Look, you can like twirl,
It's
and you
fun.
can move in it. You can spread your legs apart." And Melissa McCarthy just like gives a little thumbs up.
That was so subtle.
And it's not commented on it at all by anyone. But I was just like, that is a great character bit.
Like-
where Melissa McCarthy's like, "Yeah, I can get my freak on in the restroom."
It's like one of those things. Like if you saw it, that was for you. Like
I think that flew over the first time I watched it, but that really cracked me up this watch.
yeah. So of course, later on in the scene, like of course everybody gets food poisoning. Everybody except
my
for Helen because she didn't eat the meat. And
Right.
of course, that leads us to one of the bigger scenes where like everybody's rushing to the bathrooms, vomiting. Melissa McCarthy can't get into the toilet because somebody's throwing up in the
Yeah.
toilet, so she like hops on the sink.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, it's coming out like lava.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course there's
And
just-
Ellie Kemper comes in and pukes on Wendy McClendon Covey's
Yeah.
head.
Yes, yes. Oh
it's
my
a
God.
big old bag of
It's-
mess. And then of
I
course
know.
the coup de grace where Lillian is in her wedding dress and she gets sick too, and the bathroom's full, so she like runs across the street to the bathroom, but she doesn't make it, and she's like just poops in the street.
Yeah. Oh
Yep.
my God. So
Like
funny.
you don't
Just-
see the poop, but you just see
yeah,
like
she's in this big wedding dress. She just squats down.
Yeah,
in
it's
the
like, it's
street.
happening, it's happening.
And she's like waving traffic around her.
yeah.
Oh my God. And I love scenes like that. I mean, so much of what I love about this movie in general is like, yeah, it's not just guys who do potty humor or who have groups of friends that have some fuck ups and stuff, you know what I mean? Or some screw ups or whatever. Like, yeah, it was just so neat. Like that scene specifically, some
Right.
people really had issue with that scene. And I'm like, I loved it because women can be gross too. And it's
Yeah.
important to let that happen.
Yeah, anybody can be gross.
And
Yeah.
it was interesting that Kristen Wiig and her co-writer, whose name I'm blanking on, I don't have handy.
Annie Mumolo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, she's pretty well known.
They weren't too nuts about that idea, but apparently Apatow and Paul Feig were the ones who were really
Oh,
pushing for that.
interesting. Oh, wow.
So I thought that was really interesting. Like
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't quite their sensibilities,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I get with some people, like, if it's anything concerning bathroom humor, they're like, I'm off, you
but
know?
I'm not a big
Right.
one for the bathroom
Yeah.
humor.
I mean, I'm not in many ways too, but I don't
Yeah.
know why. I felt like the silliness of this, like, I just picture Melissa McCarthy like in the sink, like that just killed me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just the sort of physicality of it.
Yeah, I mean, the physicality of it was really good. I have trouble with like bathroom humor. Like sometimes I have like a bit of a weak stomach, so I'm not like too big into like gross out humor.
Like
Yeah,
the Hangover
yeah.
and stuff like that.
I mean, a little of that is fine, but
Okay.
if you're not like too in your face about it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I gotcha.
I don't really need to see someone vomiting or stuff. So,
Yeah.
well, you know, yeah,
okay.
No, I gotcha.
but that's me.
Yeah. No,
Call me
I,
old fashioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the thumbs up much more than the
Yes,
vomiting
yeah.
and the pooping and the
Yeah, I
and all
did
that.
like, and then not to get too far ahead, but then at
Yeah.
the very end, I believe it was the very end, we see Melissa McCarthy with that like truck for the car full of puppies.
Oh yeah,
like-
that's towards
Yeah,
To me,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
just so funny because it's just like, yeah, she just like scooped up all these puppies and was like, we're hitting the road.
I did like at the end at the party. Like as Kristen Wiig is leaving, she like somebody tries to hand her a puppy, and they're like, no, she doesn't get a party favor.
You don't get a
and
dog.
they're giving away puppies as party favors. I liked
Yes,
how
I
over
know.
That's
the
how
top
rich
that
they
Yeah,
are.
it's
was.
just so over the top. And then I
Yeah.
love the idea that Melissa McCarthy somehow got a half dozen of them. And it was
Yeah.
just like, go, you know,
Yeah.
like,
It's like,
oh
where'd
my
you get all? They just took all the puppies.
Yeah. She says at one point she was like, "Yeah, I took 9, which is too many. I should have stopped at 6."
I shouldn't have committed. This
Yeah.
is a mistake. All right, but so then after that, they talk about the bachelorette party and like, you know, like I said before, like Annie wants to do it at the lake house because that's what she can afford, but everybody wants to do Vegas.
Right.
She's looking at her checks like, oh no, this isn't going to be.
This
so
ain't
like,
happening.
Yeah, so she just kind of reluctantly goes along with it, and she's also like a bad flyer, and she's very nervous about flying. So, you know, I think Helen gives her like a little something to knock her out.
Yeah, it was a Xanax
Oh my
apparently.
God.
Xanax,
yeah.
and Annie sits next to some. It's weird because like Helen and Lillian are in first class, and everybody else is sitting in coach.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
No, they were all in first class.
oh
Yeah, but
No,
they
no,
were just in seats behind them.
I thought they were in coach. Oh
No, I believe everyone else was in first class.
pretty sure they were in coach. All right,
Folks,
I'll-
call in.
Yeah.
Call in and let us know which one of us is right here.
But yeah, Annie was sitting next to Annie Mumolo, who was a very nervous flyer, and Megan Melissa McCarthy's character was sitting next to Ben Falcone, her real life husband
Yes.
and fellow groundling and comedy writer,
and starts
partner.
aggressively hitting on him.
Yes.
She deduces that he's an air marshal, and he's
Yes.
like, no, I'm not an air marshal. She's like, well, you didn't have a bag. You didn't put anything in the overhead.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not an air marshal. I don't know where you're getting that
Yeah.
from.
It's like,
And she just-
where's your gun hit? It's like up your butt or something? Or up the crack? It's like, how would I put a gun up my ass?
So funny. Oh
It's
my
like,
God.
It's like, how would I get to the gun if it was up my ass? You just cut a hole in the back of your pocket and get it that way. Like, you tell me you can't get a gun up your ass if you
Yeah.
just do that? So later on in the scene, she has like Xanax, then Helen gives her a little whiskey to help it because she's still nervous. And then we get this weird scene where like Helen's just like I mean, not Helen. Annie's just like out of it on the plane, and
Oh my
she's
God,
like
so funny.
totally whacked out on something.
She's like, help me, I'm poor.
Yeah, she just like she makes her way to the front of a first class, and she's just out of her mind with it. It was some really good acting. It was like really funny. She was,
I know. I thought it was such an interesting choice that they never actually get to Vegas at all.
Yeah, that's
You
amazing.
know?
Yeah, she acts up so much that the plane makes an emergency landing.
Right, at one
and-
point she says, she gets on the intercom of the plane. It's like,
Yeah.
there's an old colonial woman on the wing of the plane.
Yes,
And and then that's when Ben Falcone's like, I'm an air marshal, everybody get back.
Right.
Yes.
And then Megan's like, I knew it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's stewardesses. I can't remember if there's two, but one of the stewardesses is another girl from the Groundlings who my sister's friends with. I forget
no.
her name. Yeah, but I remember
Whoa.
watching it in the theater and being like, "Oh my God, there she is!"
Oh,
Very
that's
cool.
so fun when you
Yeah.
see somebody you know.
I know, I love
even
that.
even tangentially in
I know
in a
exactly.
movie
Yeah,
or
because
a
I just
TV
seen her
show.
in LA doing a live show, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's a girl I just seen." But I also thought it was so funny to me that like I wonder if. I mean, a great way to manage the budget of a film is to not actually go to Vegas and have to film in Vegas. You
That's
know?
actually pretty smart.
True. Yeah.
Like, well, all we have to do is build a set of a plane. We're going to film here for days because, like, that was a pretty long scene, just with
Yeah,
the different
yeah.
like beats.
Yeah.
And then we're right back to filming where we were before. you know?
Right, and so the plane makes an emergency landing in Casper, Wyoming, and they're all taking the bus back. And
Yeah.
everyone, understandably, is not very happy with Annie at this
Yeah.
point.
Right, like they take the bus back, and at that point, like Annie is sitting next to Lillian, and Lillian's kind of nice. He says, maybe all this is a little too overwhelming for you. Maybe maybe Helen should take care of the bridal shower.
Yep.
And that puts Annie in not a great place, as it would.
Yeah, and then
anyone.
her life just kind of spirals more from there. She hooks up with Chris O'Dowd. That's not part of the spiraling,
Right.
really, but I mean that's just something that happens at this point in the
Yeah.
movie.
Right, because like actually she's driving.
Chris O'Dowd, perfectly attractive man,
He's a-
and
that's-
any of us would be lucky to hook up
Yeah.
with Chris O'Dowd.
I
I
agree.
will say.
And that seemed like, to me, that was like a good sign that, like, okay, at least she's not hooking up with the John Hamm type. Like this
Right,
guy's a
yeah.
nice guy, and like, he's, like, just cares about her.
And apparently on the commentary they said when she had sex with John Hamm, she leaves her bra on, but she has it off when she wakes up the next morning with Chris O'Dowd, and that was supposed to symbolize her emotional intimacy. She was
Hey.
able
Right.
to open herself
Yeah.
up to him because I guess her emotions are contained in her boobs.
Right, absolutely. As all emotions
So-
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I think earlier in the movie, Annie invited Ted to come to the bridal shower with her, or the bridal, but Ted didn't want to go. He's like,
Yeah, he's like,
then you got to explain.
What do we do? What
Yeah.
is-
It's like,
I don't wanna
how
put
do-
you through
how do we
that.
explain our relationship? And
So like he backed out. So then like after they got back from their trip, quote unquote, off the bus, like Annie seeks out Chris O'Dowd's character Rhodes, and it's like, oh, do you want to hang out? So they go to a bar and they drink, and there's chemistry there, and then Rhodes says like, oh, you should go back to baking. You're a really good baker, because Rhodes remembers her. Her
he
cake
was
baking.
a semi-customer. of
Yeah,
hers.
and it's like, yeah, your pastry was great. You should go back to that. That's your passion. But like you could see, she's very like, I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. She's very weirded out by it.
She was burned by it,
Yeah.
because her business
Yeah.
failed. So
Right.
she
Oh,
thinks-
burned. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they end up hooking up and like doing the do, and then
Doing the bra off, bra off.
hot damn,
Free tits, free
Yeah.
tits.
doing the do. That's what we all call it.
the
right?
do free tits.
Hey.
I love all the euphemisms we have in this
Oh my
episode.
God. Those are my
This
favorite
is-
things in the world. Have you ever heard
Free tits? Yes, those are some of my favorite things in the world as well.
Why pay for it?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard it called like hump down?
Hump down.
Yeah, I have a friend who's like, we hump down. I'm like, I love referring to it as hump down. That kills
that is good.
me.
That is
Hump
very
down.
good.
Oh,
Hump
hashtag
down.
It kills me. Or ride the D train. I like to say
Oh,
that.
hey now.
Yeah.
I've been tweeting that a lot lately. I'm like, you know what I did this past weekend? I don't know if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, but I rode the D train.
Yeah,
Hey.
baloney pony. So anyway,
Sorry, continue.
we are children.
We are.
So the next morning, she wakes up in his bed and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sleep over." But he's like, "No, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely, you can
Yeah.
sleep." And like he's actually
He's
looking
nice
at.
and he's secure and
Yeah,
he's being sweet and
He makes her some coffee. He was actually looking at her while she slept, and then he
not
says-
in a creepy way.
not in a creepy, in a sweet way.
Not in a I'm going to videotape this for my blog way.
Yeah, this isn't revenge
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, so I don't know where I'm going with that. But like, yeah, so then he said, oh, you should come to the kitchen. I got a surprise for you. And she goes in the kitchen and she says, oh, yeah, I went out and got all this stuff for you. I figured you could bake and maybe do something. Maybe, I'll leave you I'll leave you too. I'll stay out of the kitchen. I'll just eat what you bake. And then she gets very weirded out by it. She's like, I told you I didn't want to bake. I don't know why. Don't try to fix me. It was weird. It was interesting. I like that choice because usually that's like a very like sweet Hallmark type of moment where you say, oh, he's a nice guy. He cares. But like she kind of recoils from all that and she's like, taken aback by it and almost offended by it, which I thought was an interesting way to go.
Yeah. I mean, because in most movies, usually like when you find a good romantic partner, suddenly that fixes all the other problems in your life.
Yeah.
And we don't see that here.
And I appreciate too that like, it was kind of a heavy-handed gesture on his part, and
yeah, that's true.
And I just appreciate that they played it in a sort of like tied up with a bow, cutesy way of like. No, I mean, I could see her being like, yeah, like, you don't need to fix me. Also, it's sort of personal what I'm going through. And I thought that was a really nice and realistic choice. Like, it reminds me of, sometimes you'll see, I remember this thing went viral on the internet. Someone, like, every single day for a year, like, took a photo of himself being like, I'm going to propose to you in a year. And he, like, made this whole compilation. Like, he proposed to his girlfriend, but, like, he had a year's worth of daily check-ins where it's, like, it was set to that song, I Think I'm Going to Marry You. And it was basically how, like, every day he was like, I'm going to propose to you in a year. I can't wait. And then he made this whole compilation. And a lot of people were like, isn't that romantic? Isn't that cute? And there was some backlash of like, no, I find it kind of creepy. I also think it puts such like high stakes on the proposal. Like,
yeah,
like
a year to
I
plan
made this
a proposal.
video. Yeah. And
That's...
I find that sort of similar to him buying all these ingredients. It's like, don't push, like, I mean, it's well-meaning, but a little bit clueless.
Yeah. I mean, I did appreciate the gesture when I watched the movie, but then like as I thought about it, like it was like, oh no, you should have read off her body language from the night before, like how just you talking about baking just put her off. So you should have known that she wasn't ready for that.
He's a guy. He's oblivious.
Yep, we sure are.
You guys get it.
Yay! but I mean, there is a thin line between romantic and well-meaning and creepy.
Or too pushy, or
too pushy.
Oh yeah, I mean it's such a tightrope.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh.
That everyone has to walk. I mean, I'm amazed anyone ever gets together.
Oh,
ever.
I know.
Yeah,
I know, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, her life kind of goes, goes further and further down the slide, and she gets
she's fired from her job. She's thrown out by her roommates.
Oh yeah, she gets
she moves in with her mom.
Yeah, I mean, her getting kicked out by the roommates didn't make any sense to me because like she was paying half the rent because like the sister wasn't paying anything. So I'm like, how's it going to afford
I think it
it?
was just a rule of funny.
Yeah. I guess I did like that line. That the sister had Rebel Wilson, which was like, we'd like to invite you to not live with us anymore.
Yeah.
That is great.
But so that and the way she loses her job at the jewelry store, I thought was
she goes off on a young lady who's in the store.
Yeah, there's like a teenager that wants to get like a friendship bracelet for her best friend, and she's like, well, you sure you want to do that? Because friendships don't last, and they say you'll be friends forever, but that doesn't happen all the time, and like she gets very defensive and they get very combative.
God, the story is like so well crafted as far as like her working like that happening in the jewelry store, like that really serves the larger narrative, you know what I mean? I just feel like every choice is really well made.
Very much so. So like, and then the teenager gets back, attacks her saying like, well, you're an old lady, what do you know? And then she's like, oh, you're probably just popular because you do blowjobs. She's saying this to a teenage kid. And then the teenager, she says, like, you're a miserable old woman who will die alone. And then Annie says, well, you're a little cunt. And that shocked me when I was like, whoa.
Let's just do
That's
this is a little feature that we use. We call it the problematic bell. So whenever we have something that is problematic, that way we can just acknowledge it and then just move on quickly, and we don't have a big to do about it.
Just I see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, because the C word, nothing packs a punch harder than the C word.
I've never, because I rarely hear that word in movies, let alone
you gotta dole out the C words very carefully.
Let alone a female-driven.
You drop a C word, there is no coming back.
No,
from that. I mean, that's like I talk about it with comedians as far as punchlines go. Like, you could drop other euphemisms, whatever, but like, if you need to drop the C, like, whoo, and also you save it for the final beat, like, that's why it was the end of that fight.
Yeah.
You can't come out guns blazing with that too early.
Yeah, because people do not like that word.
No, yeah.
I felt weird saying it.
I felt weird hearing it.
I gave myself goosebumps.
I'm a little. Well, should do another one of those.
Let's cover our bases.
Yeah, let's just.
All right. So then all that
we'll
happened.
put the little mature warning, the MA. Warning
Too hot for
this one.
TV.
Yeah.
So that happened, and so she gets the invite from about the bridal shower. And like there's like a live butterfly in it that flies out, which it was over the top.
I liked how they just gradually got more and more over the top with everything that Helen was doing,
and like mocking the wedding industrial complex. You know, like
Yeah,
when there was the,
yeah.
the chocolate fountain. Like there's just so many things where it was like just so overdone. you know?
And I just do have to note this as a comic book geek. The mansion where they have the bridal shower is Stately Wayne Manor from the 1960s
really?
Batman
Oh
show.
my God, that's so cool.
I recognized that building right off. I was like, wait, is that Stately Wayne Manor? And I paused it and then I did a quick Google search and I was like, yes, it was Stately Wayne Manor.
Holy
God,
moly.
that's a great Easter egg. You know, just like
it's been used in a million TV shows and movies, but it's always going to be Stately Wayne Manor.
Wow. All right. So she drives up to the Helen's house for the bridal shower, the final shower, and it's like it's big, crazy, expensive house. Like as she drives into the driveway, which is like a road, basically.
Yeah.
Like one of the servants serves her like pink lemonade as she goes in.
Right, and she's like, I don't have a cup holder, and the guy doesn't come back.
Yeah.
And then they just smash cut to her riding a white horse.
Yes, on a
up to the
horseback.
mansion.
Because like I guess you park your car and you have to go by horse the rest of the way.
Well, he says like you go this way to the stables. So apparently you park your car at the stables, then you take a horse the rest of the way.
Right. Oh boy.
So
So they mentioned that they like. I love the way they just do it over the top like that. And so Annie gets the bridal shower and she sees that the bridal shower is Paris, France themed,
yes.
which was her idea.
Which was her idea that she told Helen, but Helen was like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't go with that. So like, Helen kind of took that idea and just made it, Paris theme, which of course would. That's a kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
I feel like there were some like subtle things, where it was like, and it was good because
and I don't think they ever commented on the Paris thing. She just sees that, and then that's it's never like.
And it was
"You
just
stole
nice
my
that
idea."
as we've said before, that no one was like an outright bitch, but it was just these sort of subtle things of like, oh, well, that was the idea I had, and now you have a chocolate fountain and these giant cookies, and you're doing it better than I could have.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, because often in life, like, you don't necessarily get pissed off by somebody who's, like, outright antagonizing you. It's usually, like, a miscommunication thing.
Oh, totally.
Or something you do inadvertently. Or, like, somebody says, like, oh, you pissed off this person Friday night. And you're like, oh, did I really? I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. And in the context of bridal parties, like, I know within my sorority in college, like, once we got older, there being tension between, like, one girl organized that we would do an all-day cooking class as the bachelorette party day activity, and it was very expensive, and some girls resented it, and other,
but no one said anything about it.
Exactly. Yeah, everyone.
Because nobody wants to be that person.
Exactly. But
They
there's
don't want to be that C word.
Right.
Exactly.
Ooh,
but
see
there's
you
just
next
these
Tuesday.
like subtle resentments, and like this. I just felt like it was so true.
Yeah. So, but the thing that sets her off, of course, when everybody's exchanging gifts to her, and like Annie's giving her like all these like kind of mementos from their childhood, stuff from their past.
Which I liked because it was a very meaningful gift, and it was also something that Annie could do within her budget right now because she's unemployed. But she did do a very thoughtful collage of photos with all these memories, and she had like the Wilson Phillips CD and stuff like that, and just like, this is what a great friend you've been to me through the years.
And Helen just gets Lillian tickets to Paris, France.
Right.
And after that happened, like,
Annie loses her shit.
it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, she just screams at everybody, like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, all the resentment just comes rushing out.
And, I know it was motivated at this point in the movie, but I did lose some sympathy for Annie at this point.
Really?
Because I was like, well, why can't you just keep repressing your emotions like a normal person?
Oh, okay.
Why can't... That's what you do. I mean, I know you're supposed to repress them until you explode in an inappropriate moment, but...
You repress your feelings and drink the pain away.
Yeah.
This is what you do.
That's what you do.
Right?
Come on,
Right?
hello? Are you an alien?
Yeah.
I don't believe that you're.
Yeah, maybe.
I loved the I just found it so the heightening of that scene where she like smashes over that giant cookie, and then like does she knock over I just remember there being a chocolate fountain.
She
and, like,
tries to
There was a
knock it over, but
chocolate
it's like so heavy she can't.
Yeah,
So
so-
she's like slips and like falls.
Yes, like-
but her arms are just covered covered with chocolate, up to her elbows.
Just the playfulness of that physicality and like just the silliness, like the heightening. I loved it so much. Oh my god!
Right. So and so then like basically the two Annie and Lillian have this big fight where she says like. I mean, Annie's big fear is basically she's kind of lost a lot. Like she didn't have a job and she didn't have a boyfriend, and like the one guy that was nice to her, like Rhodes, like she kind of pushed away, and
like life has beaten her down enough that she doesn't want to try.
Right, and she doesn't want to lose her childhood friend because like her friend is going to go away to this big fancy life with these big fancy people, and like she's like really losing, and but she's saying all that kind of it all comes out, and like the two of them have a big fight, like. And then she just kind of storms off, and then Lillian says, "Well, if you're gonna act like this, don't come to my wedding." Yeah. And but I liked how she, as soon as she said that, she immediately kind of regretted it, but she couldn't really take it back.
I thought Maya Rudolph was really good in that scene.
Yeah.
She hit the right notes.
Yeah, and while Maya Rudolph was filming this, she was like pregnant with her third child, I believe.
That boggles my mind.
Yeah.
You remember she was also pregnant when she was shooting MacGruber.
Yeah, she was.
What year was MacGruber?
That was 2000, right?
2000?
I believe.
That early? Okay.
I gotta look at my notes.
I looked it up.
Actually, no.
She's got
I was like, MacGruber, I feel like it was 2006.
It's not. As soon as I said 2000, like it wasn't 2000.
Maya Rudolph has like 4 kids, so I guess she's apparently been pregnant a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably 4 times. Let me wait a minute. Let me do the math on that.
Okay. Facts and figures.
Yeah. She has been pregnant 4
numbers,
times.
Gotcha. But yeah, so then after that happens, Annie storms off, and that's where, she doesn't get a puppy, of course, and she like drives away in her car. She ends up getting into an accident because she never got her taillight fixed, which Rhodes told her to do at the beginning of this movie.
It results in somebody rear-ending her when she stops abruptly.
Yeah, there's like a porcupine crossing the road. She stops abruptly. The guy behind Annie smashes in behind her and just like hits and runs and just takes off.
Even though their bumper is literally falling off their car.
Yeah, but sometimes, some people do that sometimes. Yeah. And of course, Annie can't start her car, so now she's like, feel like, oh, now this is rock bottom.
And who's the cop who comes by but Chris O'Dowd?
Yeah.
And he's trying to be professional, but at a certain point, I mean, Annie's saying like, "Hey, this has been a really rough day for me. I can't really handle this right now, whatever we're doing." And I love that Chris O'Dowd just like called Annie on her shit, and he's like, this didn't happen because you had a bad day. This happened because you didn't get your taillight fixed.
Right.
You could have prevented this.
Yeah.
And I liked that.
Yeah, and I also like the part that says, well, you flirted with me. Like, you made me think like this could have been something. And then you like shut me out. So like I
like that he wasn't a total doormat, basically.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
And of course when that happens, Ted drives up and picks up Annie because
John Hamm's character.
John Hamm's character, because he's like, oh, he's the only guy I know who lives around here.
And he comes up and he's like, what's up? Does he say like, what's up, fuck buddy? Or
yeah, he does.
Something like that.
What's up, buddy?
And I think that in the trailer, that was part that was used. I just so vividly remember a clip of him just being a jerk in a car. You know?
Yeah.
Oh God, he plays a dick so well.
He does. And it's not fair that he's that talented and that good looking.
I know.
Those two things should not have settled on one person.
Is there no justice? And also, from all accounts, because he hangs out at SNL a fair amount with comedy people, from all accounts, he's like a great dude and like a chill guy. Like,
I remember like when they did the big goodbye thing for Kristen Wiig on her last episode, you see him like, and they do a big Ruby Tuesday because it was Mick Jagger hosting.
Yeah,
they did a big sing-along. And I remember seeing like John Hamm just kind of bouncing in to just hug her.
Yeah.
And he wasn't on the show before that. He didn't cameo. He was just showing up there. And it was just like, it was such a neat thing. And it seemed like he did seem like a good guy.
It seems like I saw him at Le Poisson Rouge. He did like this quiz show one time, and then afterwards, my friend like kind of chased him down to take a selfie with him, which I was don't do that. Like,
no.
I'm such a non-believer in that kind of thing. But he was very gracious to her, but then like a crowd started swarming, and so he was like, so he kind of ducked away because he was totally alone, and it looked like he was maybe hungover, like he had like some like he was kind of
scruff,
and which I was like, you're doing a public appearance, so you look a little tough, but he just seemed like a really lovely dude.
Even Scruffy, he's handsome.
Yeah,
I know.
Especially Scruffy is handsome. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hubba. Ooh, it's getting hot in here.
Hubba.
But yeah, so Ted drives away with Annie. Of course, Ted, first thing he wants to do is try to get some roadhead. He's like, oh, you want to,
And he brings it up in like the least subtle way possible. He's like, well, if you're really tired, you could like rest your head on my lap, and as long as you're there, you know.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
then,
God, he's such a jerk.
and if that's when Annie snaps, she's like, just pull over, let me out. I'd rather just die here on the side of the road than to be with you.
And I loved his line as he's pulling away. He just says, "You're no longer my number 3."
Yeah, that was rough.
That's a great line. I don't know if that was scripted or improv, but
Oh my
kudos to
God.
whoever came up with that
And he
line.
also said the line, which I thought was interesting, was he said, like, you used me, which shows that he was kind of, you know, he wasn't as clueless as maybe you thought. Because, like, I mean, Annie kind of was using him in a way, like, to, you know,
Right.
maybe feel better and, like, self-validate herself. So, like, they were using each other, and he was cool with it, but, you know, she maybe was fooling herself.
It's always
or
nice
whatnot.
when, like, a character who you thought of is just, like, sort of a narrative device up until that point. They're just like, no, wait, I got my own shit going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice when you, like, for a moment, you see the world from their perspective.
Yeah, and see that they have some like sort of self-awareness and
some
you
inner
know.
life,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So then Annie's just at the lowest of the low at this point. She's at home, and she's not going to go to the wedding, it seems like. And then that's when she has that scene with Melissa McCarthy's character, and, like, she's trying to say, you know, you're not friends with Lily anymore, but I'm your friend. Like, you know, you should fight. You know, we see you're down in the dumps. You should fight for your life. To have this really kind of...
It's a nice scene.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's like there's like some comedy in there, but there's also some like really strong truths. Like you're saying, you know, don't blame the world for your problems because you're your problem and you're also your solution. Which I really like that line quite a bit.
Yeah, that is a good line.
Yeah.
That's great.
So then after that, like Annie sort of like slowly starts to get her life a little bit together again. She starts baking again. She takes her car to get fixed, which she should have done a while ago, and she takes her to the guy that Rhodes suggested. His name is Bill Cosby, but a different Bill Cosby. C-O-Z-B-I.
That joke is not dated
That
as
does
well
not
as it
hold
could
up.
have.
Yikes! Yeah.
Because it was 2011, and, well, who knew?
Who knew? Who knew?
Well,
a lot
I mean,
of black women who no one listened to.
Yeah, all right, they
This
knew.
is-
They knew.
excellent point. Excellent point, and I'm going to give myself a little,
Ding,
because,
ding.
yeah, people knew.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
People
I
knew.
appreciate
Open
that
secret,
I
but-
appreciate that Hannibal. You know, like I think people broadcast it more so. But I mean, yeah, that was always the sort of infuriating thing. Is everyone's like Hannibal really cracked this case, and it's like, oh my god, you know.
It literally wasn't until a man said something
Yep.
about it.
Oh,
that
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
It
people
became-
listen. Yeah.
That's just,
life.
yeah.
It's so sad and insane. to have to laugh.
Oh, life is beautiful.
I know. Sorry.
Life is beautiful and horrying, and we live in a hellscape.
Yeah. So as Annie tries to get her life together, she introduces the mechanic to her mom, and they strike up a conversation, a friendship possibly. And she also bakes a cake for Rose to apologize to the way she treated
Carrot
him.
apology cake,
Yeah.
which is a callback to when they were eating carrots together outside the mini mart where they ran into each other. And we
Right.
didn't summarize that scene before because it seemed unimportant at the
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
but now I regret that
Uh-huh.
decision.
Yeah, I mean, it was a sweet scene to show like their chemistry and like kind of establish their connection.
Yeah.
But anyway, she makes him a cake, puts it on his doorstep, and he doesn't take it. She drives back a little bit later. She sees raccoons have gotten at it, and he hasn't eaten the cake. So it's like, oh, it seems like that, you know, that connection. Has just
So
been
that's a
separate.
metaphor for something.
Yeah, when raccoons eat your cake, it's,
Yeah.
you're no longer
Yeah,
friends.
not as much fun as it sounds.
Exactly. So the day the wedding happens, Annie's not going to go, and it turns out Helen goes to Annie's house, you know, because they can't find Lily, and they don't know where she is, and so she goes to Annie's, maybe see where Annie can maybe help find her. So then the two of them go out, but they don't really talk because like there's still like that weird tension between them.
Yeah.
And then Helen kind of comes clean. It's like, I'm sorry, I kind of got in the way of your friendship. I didn't mean to cause any like distance between you two. And she kind of, that was a good scene too, where she kind of shows like all the stuff she did, like, you know, that kind of one up her. She didn't really do it out of malice or spite. She just did it because she doesn't really have any female friends, and she doesn't really, like, her husband's away a lot. She's kind of by herself a lot. So
Her
she,
stepkids obviously don't like her.
yeah, there was that one scene where her stepkids kind of cursed her out, and
Yeah.
it's like, so she just wants this connection between her and Lillian to stay strong. So she kind of maybe went overboard with it, and that caused a divide. So she's like,
And which is such a nice thing that wasn't about her being like, because I hate other women.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, I mean, she has
Yeah.
her own vulnerabilities and insecurities, and was coming from a great place.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's also coming from, I think, a real place. I mean, you hear that and you're just like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think you see it, you know, you'll see it with people in the world where it's like, oh, wow, you do this thing that you're like, just that, I don't know how much certain like things can be a fill-in for, like,
Right.
depending on what you're going through in your life, you might be like, I'm really into this potluck club that I'm in right now. We're meeting every month, because
Right,
it's like,
right.
I hate
Potluck,
my
you
family.
say? All
Yeah.
right.
Or whatever it may be. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, everybody has their baggage. It may look like some people are all put together and have everything
Yeah,
perfect, but
yeah.
odds are they got something behind them. So anyway, they find Rhodes. She tried to get Rhodes to help them find Lillian. He's very resistant at first, but sooner or later he comes around and helps them, but he's still like very defensive about, getting close to Annie. They find out Lillian's at her old apartment. She's just there. It's like, oh yeah, why don't you just go there? So then Annie goes in, and then they have a big heart-to-heart, and Lillian kind of breaks down saying like how she's kind of, not cold feet, but she's kind of realizing like her old life is kind of over now. Like her apartment isn't going to be her apartment, and she's going to have new friends, and she's kind of got freaked out by that, and like it's all like a little overwhelming for her, and like Annie kind of has to calm her down a little bit, and
Right.
At the same time, Lillian's also very worried about her friend. Like, yeah, you're not. I know you're going through this tough time. Are you going to be okay? And she's like, yeah, I'll be okay. And they have this really nice, really kind of tender moment of like they kind of reconnect, and they're like their friendship kind of built together. It was like a really sweet. I was like, that's so sweet. Loved it. So then after that, the big wedding happens. This huge wedding with like lasers and fireworks.
Yeah.
And
like right after they say I do, there's like this multimedia thing behind them. It says like, should they say it I do?
Yeah.
And
God.
yeah, it's
They're, like,
really
cartoonish.
over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course, Helen's last big gift to Lillian is she actually has Wilson
Yes!
Phillips come out
Hold
and sing
on.
"Hold On."
The
Oh my
real
God.
Wilson Phillips.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that so much. Oh my God. Like, and then I love too when they are all singing along to it, and they're just like,
Yeah.
like the way they
Yeah.
act it out. Oh my God, it was so charming.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah. So and then at the end, of course, Lillian and her husband, they go away to their honeymoon, and like like Lillian gives Annie a look saying like, we're okay now, and like we won't lose touch. That's the thing. And I liked how the way this movie ended, because like Annie still has like a lot of work to do. She doesn't have a job, and she's still living with her mom, but you could tell she's on the road to getting better. And at the end of the movie, we see like Rhodes was waiting outside, waiting to pick her up. And we also see that Annie kind of mended things with Helen, and like they're getting to be a little bit more friendly too. So and it was a very sweet movie. And then like then Annie and Rhodes kiss, and like it's Rhodes like, oh wait, I'm still on duty. Do you want to come with me? So then like they drive off in his cop car, and that's it. And then it ends with
I did like how he said like, actually there is still a warrant out for your arrest.
yes.
Because of all this stuff that you did. These were all crimes, and I still have to arrest you for it. That was a cute joke to go out on.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie. And then it ends like with this weird like sex video that Megan and the Air Marshal guy do, which it felt a little out of place. It was weird. Like they were doing like some weird sex video that involved a sandwich and hungry bears.
I think they just realized like that Melissa McCarthy was obviously going to be a breakout character from this, so they wanted to give her a little extra bit with her for them
I
to
wonder
go
if
out
that was
on.
like a scene that they had filmed for something else, and then they were like, "Oh, we couldn't use it. Actually, we had to pull it out of the movie, but like stick it in the back."
There's a whole scene with like Paul Rudd that was
wow.
cut out of this movie completely.
What was his character?
He was a guy that Annie went on a date with, and he seemed like this really great guy when they were out at dinner, and then they go ice skating, and he like falls over, and a kid skates over his finger, and he's injured, very, very slight injuries, and he just loses his shit. So Paul Rudd just... Wow. And you get to see Paul Rudd cuss out a kid.
Oh my God.
And it was a very funny scene by itself, but I can see why it was cut, because it didn't really have anything to do with the main plot.
Yeah,
Right.
and just made the movie longer and longer. And, yeah.
We almost had a movie with Rudd and Ham.
I know. That's the dream.
Oh my God.
That's the dream.
Good God. I'm fanning myself.
Yeah.
I'm fanning myself.
Hot comedy guy sandwich.
I mean, I think my problem with the movie is, and I do have a couple of problems with the movie, is I do think it gets a little shapeless, because like they leaned a little too hard into the improv, and you can tell that because like some scenes just sort of meander.
That's a big thing, like with Apatow movies.
Yeah.
He kind of introduced that. Like, the first time I remember seeing something like that was like 40 Year Old Virgin.
Yeah.
Where they just kind of had like all the improv-y, quippy stuff, and they just kept it all in. And it's like it's not really pushing the plot
and it can get very self-indulgent at times. And a lot of times, like Apatow's movies, they're about 20 minutes longer than they need to be. Because comedy, you want to keep it light and you want to keep it fast.
Oh yeah, and I think with a group scene, like, I understand the use of improv, but I think improv is a good tool for writing.
Yes.
And then write the best things that you improvised.
Right, and polish that.
Exactly. And I think that improv on set can be used only for like buttons or like a throwaway line. You know what I mean? Like John Hamm, if they filmed that him driving away, 5 times, how fun would it be if every time he has a different, he tries out a different thing,
Right.
Yeah, in the context of like a group conversation or even if it's two people conversation, I just feel like improv, you can tell that it's like, where are you going? Come back.
Yeah. And you can only shape that so much in the editing room. So I wish the movie had been shaped or maybe tightened a little more. No, that would be my criticism of it.
That's fair enough. Yeah, the thing with improv, you can get a little indulgent with it. And at some point, you're just kind of doing it for yourself. You don't want to be doing it for yourself. You got to realize, no, there's an audience of people watching us, so we got to keep this story going.
And I think that's fine in a live show, but in a major motion picture, you gotta
keep it tight.
You gotta keep the reins tight.
You can't just be amusing yourselves.
Exactly.
At some point.
And when I initially saw this, I was expecting it to be much more of an ensemble than it was. It was much more focused on Kristen Wiig's character than I was expecting.
Yeah,
I thought it was because the ads made it look like much more of an ensemble, and Wendy McLendon Covey and Ellie Kemper's characters, they just kind of disappear for long stretches of the movie.
I kind of wish it was more of them, too.
And they were both really funny, and I was like, I would like to spend more time with these characters and find out a little more what they're about. And
I mean, Rose Byrne got more screen time just because Kristen Wiig was...
She's the closest this movie has to an antagonist.
To be the triangulation, of Rose Byrne's character, Maya Rudolph's character, and Kristen Wiig's character. But Yeah, and she was sort of the bad guy, but without totally being a bad guy.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, another thing I love about this movie is no sequel. Which is so strange. A movie like this that did so much business and made so much money and made such a big splash when it came out. Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo have said we're not going to write a sequel. It ended perfectly.
Which is so, and it's God bless, because you could totally see, if somebody just wanted to make some money, to have it be, Melissa McCarthy's character is getting married, and for whatever reason, the exact same group assembles, which is so unrealistic.
Hangover. Excuse me.
I know.
I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from.
I know. 2 and 3.
Even Sex and the City 2. No. Even the Sex and the City movie wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, the first movie was fine, but the second, I was like, oh, you just ruined it. You ruined it. You know?
I mean, money talks.
Yeah. Oh my God,
Yeah.
money does talk.
Yeah, but I like there's no let's do a Bridesmaids prequel. Let's show them going to the prom.
Now they're all going to Hawaii.
Wacky hijinks. They were like, no, we wrote this. We wrote this when we met they both met in the Groundlings. And it ended perfectly, and that's all we got.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still coming out with another movie. I think next year they're coming out with Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
Well, I mean, I think that's fine.
Got a lot of ideas.
Do another original thing.
Yeah, that's so great.
And
that's, to me, I feel like sequels and that kind of thing, it just comes from such a place of fear that you don't have any more ideas. And I think it's so neat when to be a person and to tie it back into Tina Fey, but just who's like, I have a lot of ideas. Okay, here's another idea. Here's, to not feel like, oh, I got this one thing and it worked, so I'm going to play it again.
Right.
Yeah. I think Tina Fey, her next TV show is Ted Danson is the star and Bobby Moynihan's in it.
Oh, nice.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
really
and it's
great.
about Ted Danson's character, I guess, is the mayor of a California town, and he's in way over his head.
Right. I think they originally developed it for Alec Baldwin, she said.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they were talking about
sounds
that.
about right.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I have a vague memory of that.
But it's just neat that in her career, her first film after SNL was that she wrote Mean Girls, and which was so fun, so strange because it was really written from a sociological book about that age.
I know. Yeah, and then she didn't realize until she was in the middle of it. She was like, "Oh, this is hard because now I have to come up with a plot and characters."
Yes.
And convey all this stuff that was in this book.
Exactly. And then created 30 Rock created Kimmy Schmidt. You know, like
Yeah.
it's just so nice that she has not been ever leaning on, you know, just doing the same thing over and
Yeah.
over. And it's really, you know,
But
it's just
that'll-
such the mark of a great talent and someone who's so, you know, has so many ideas.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah. So, and that's Bridesmaids, people. It's
That's
fantastic.
Bridesmaids.
Fantastic film. I'm sure you've all seen it at this time, but you know, watch it again. It still holds up. I love it. Yeah, and I guess that's our episode. That's the podcast.
That's it. That's
Selena, thank you so much for doing it. Thank
Thank
for
you
This
guys
was
for
so much
having me.
fun.
This was super fun.
It's a hoot and a half.
Yeah.
Yes. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Please,
Yes.
floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I have my, I guess in keeping with wedding stuff, I have my a parody Twitter and Instagram account called NYT Vows, where I pretend to be the New York Times wedding section. And I also make fun of the wedding industrial complex and a lot of traditions surrounding that, and WASPs and all that good stuff. So that's on Twitter and Insta, NYT Vows. And then I personally am on Twitter and Insta and all that jazz, SELENA COPPOCK. And I have an album on iTunes called Seen Better Days that I'm very proud of. And then, my podcast. Which,
Hey, there you go.
Hey.
Yeah.
My pod, I'm finally bringing back after a year-long hiatus. It's called 2 Wick Minimum, and it's America's favorite and only podcast about candles.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so cool. How did you decide you wanted to start a podcast about candles?
I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time. Originally, like I was gonna do like 15-minute episodes. Like I love candles a lot, and I love having like entertaining and having people over, and like I'm really into lighting. I don't know, but it was I was like, because I think that like a pretty specific idea for a podcast is the best idea. You know, like it's good to have specificity. Which I think
I'm
you
so
guys
impressed you
know.
can pronounce that word. I cannot.
There is an episode where we both stumbled over that. Say no word.
No.
It's a tricky one.
Specific. God.
No. I don't even attempt it now.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's funny because originally it almost started as like, I was like, it was sort of a joke. You know, I was like, imagine if I had a podcast about candles. Wouldn't that be funny? And then bless her heart, Katie Compa, my great friend who understands technology, was like, I'll make your dreams come true, you know? And so I so appreciate it. I mean, she did all the editing.
I'm picturing her as a fairy godmother right now. Just with a wand, just
I know.
Bibbidi bobbidi boo.
yeah.
2 Wick Minimum, you know. It was originally going to be called Slow Burn, but then there's the podcast about the Clinton affair. Or I guess there's a podcast about, season 1 was about the Clinton-Monica Lewinsky affair called Slow Burn, which I'm like, I cannot believe the Slow Burn is not the name of a candle podcast. Like, what? But whatever, I had to go with
Gotta
2 Wick
hop on those
Minimum.
names,
I
man.
know, truly. Yeah, you snooze, you lose. But yeah, I'm so proud of it. Season 1 was really fun. 10 episodes. I interviewed 10 people about their candle journeys. And we just talk about all the hot topics, scents, seasons. Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
Guys, if you're into candles, 2 Wick Minimum.
Yes.
Give it a listen. And if you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, I'm at Darren Credible, DARA Incredible, website DarrenCredible.com.
All right. And you can follow me on Twitter at Trumbull Comic, TRUMBULL Comic.
All right, far out.
And we have the SNL Nerds show
on Twitter. Yeah, we
Yes.
got that.
We got that.
We got that
So
thing.
follow that.
Yeah.
And you can find out, what's coming up on the show and stuff.
And you listen to the show at Non-Productive.com. Donate to our Patreon. Give us some money.
Check out some of the other shows on the Non-Productive Network. We've got some other cool shows. I guest starred on Near Mint this week. We're talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths, the classic comic book from 1985. They're going through that issue by issue. I think I'm going to be sitting in with them for all of that if I can get out to the studio on Wednesday nights. So
hot dog.
So that'll be fun. Oh, and also I guest starred on another podcast this week. I guest starred on Cheers Cast.
Hey!
Where it's, all about the old TV show Cheers.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Speaking of Ted Danson,
yeah.
we're in the second season now. Talked about episode 3 Best Friends, which guest starred one of my 80s crushes, Marky Post.
Oh, yeah.
So that was fun.
Easy on you.
That was fun.
Cheers is so brilliant.
That show still holds up beautifully. I love Cheers.
Cheers is good stuff.
All right.
And I guess that's our episode, man.
Okay, so please join us next week. We got Harry Styles back on SNL, hosting and musical guesting.
Yeah.
And until then,
Nerds out. What? Oh.
let's try that again.
I thought you were going to do it when I did it.
I know. This is the first time we've ever been out of sync on that.
Oh!
Holy crap. It was going so smoothly until that.
Wheel just fell right
All right,
off.
Frank, please cut out this useless babbling at the end.
Or leave it in.
Or,
Up to you.
Or leave it in. It could be a bonus Patreon thing. We don't know. Okay. And until then,
Nerds out.
Nice.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.